Staples stores. We'll start with baseball news today. The Angels they hired Ron Washington to be their new manager, signed him to a 2-year deal. Pat Murphy is interviewing to become the Brewers manager today. Padres still do not have a manager as of yet. And this weekend, San Diego State, a basketball game and a football game. Football, they take on Colorado State. In basketball, they take on BYU in Provo. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim. This hour, well, first of all, Jim's back. We're going to get into that in 1 second. But this hour, Elijah Saunders, rising sophomore for the Aztecs, who started Monday night. Jim was there. He played very well. Jim played all right because he ends up getting sick.
I had a couple big buckets in that game.
You did. But Elijah Saunders will join us. He made his first collegiate start. He'll join us at 3:30. Bryce Miller will join the show at 4:30. Off the top, no, the Padres don't have a manager.
What?
But yes, Jim is back.
I'm back.
So tell us about okay, you're doing the show Monday and you were a bit off. You were taking the cough drops. You didn't sound your typical sound to me.
Yeah.
But then you were there for the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was cool.
Yeah. So I was feeling something
right
on Monday and I was like, oh no, this sucks.
Yes.
And I was like literally pounding cough drops. Probably not the best thing to do.
Right.
Like cough drops aren't meant to be eaten like candy.
Right.
Or any type of thing in excess, right?
Yes.
You're only supposed to maybe have like one or two.
Sure. Couple.
Yeah, right. Tell that to high school me.
That's yeah, it's true.
Yes.
But anyway, I ate a ungodly amount of cough drops on Monday.
Yeah, you did. I noticed that.
And I get home and I immediately, Aaron's not feeling well, but we've been in different rooms. So we've been sleeping in different rooms for the last couple days here.
See, that's so interesting. So I segue real quick.
Okay.
People like married couples or people that live with each other, like you guys are about to be married. But anytime Kristen's ever been sick, I mean, we've lived together for 15 years at this point or more.
Yeah.
Anytime Kristen's ever been sick, we still sleep, or if I'm sick, we still sleep in the same bed.
Really?
Honestly, can we throw that on the text line real quick? If you're married or living with someone, do you still sleep in the same bed when you're sick? I do. Is that weird? Because I know Darren's talked about that before. He's like, we don't sleep in the same beds if I'm sick or my wife is sick, and you're saying the same thing. What's the primary, why? I mean, I know why, because you're trying to avoid getting the other person sick, but you still are in the same home. I mean, does that work? Well, I guess not for you.
Apparently not.
Right.
I've done it before. I know when Aaron was sick a couple months ago, I just slept on the couch for a couple days because I didn't want to like get sick and I didn't want to be fully around her.
Right.
And so
I get it with COVID.
Yeah.
Like with the last 4 years with that, I understand that.
She's much better now. She's fine. She still has a couple like little congested like thing going on. But I get home Monday night and I start to feel it. I go, oh crap, this is not good. I have the sweats. I'm hot. I'm like, this I'm gonna have to text Jon in the morning. Like, unless something happens, unless I wake up and I had this miracle night's sleep, there's probably a 0% chance I'm gonna be able to work tomorrow. So I text you, I'm like, bro, this ain't gonna work.
You made the right decision. Well, here's how I know you were sick. You texted me at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you obviously weren't feeling yourself. And then here's the truth is, because you and I have both done it, because it's like a two-man show, so you want to do the show because you know the other person then has to do something that they don't normally have to do. But like, it's smart to take the day. You know what I mean? We both have tried to work through things, and it's super annoying, but you kind of have to do. But sometimes if you're not yourself, you just gotta like whatever. Like, what can you do if you don't feel well and you can't do anything about it? It sucks.
I was up extremely early. I just slept all day yesterday. I woke up.
Right. Now, did we call you soft? Sure. We did.
Of course. Yeah, I'm soft. It's fine. I don't care. I'll take it. I'll wear that one. But I woke up super early yesterday morning. I was just nauseous. I just didn't feel good.
Nauseous is the worst.
I was like, what is happening? Well, it all came out. And after that happened, I felt much better. I was like, oh, I feel fine. Now, I didn't feel like 100% fine, but I felt much better than I did all morning. And then I pretty much just slept all day. Didn't really do anything on the couch, in the bed, just slept all day. And I went to bed last night at probably like 9:30. I know you texted me at around 10. You're like, are you still dead?
Yeah, and then you texted me this morning like 10. You're like, I'm alive.
I'm alive. Don't worry about it. I'm fine.
I'm like, I figured you were dead.
But I slept. I went to bed last night at like 9:30, slept all the way through the night until about 8 a.m., woke up, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I can work today.
Which is great.
I'm off the IL. Put me back in the lineup, coach.
I was pretty convinced yesterday, and I think I texted you. I'm like, at 3:01, the Padres are going to announce like,
oh, dude,
Joe Torre. It was going to be some outside name.
Ohtani is now signed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Ohtani to the Padres rumors. But honestly, yesterday, relatively quiet when it comes to this Padres managerial search. I think the news today out of the GM meetings doesn't really have to do with the Padres and their search for a manager. It has to do with what Scott Boras had to say about his client. Now, we have this, right, Brent? So Scott Boras today, and I know Darren's been talking about it throughout the course of the afternoon as well, and people have probably seen it on social media, but the jumping off point is Scott Boras saying this about the Padres and Juan Soto heading into 2024.
Met with the Padres. They laid out their plan for next year, which obviously included, a lineup that definitely includes Juan Soto. He's their 900 OPS player, and they're obviously looking for more left-handed bats rather than less.
So let me get this straight. Is he referring to the same Padres that also just a couple weeks ago said that Bob Melvin would be returning as their manager? Is this the same Padres that have said things in the past and then completely done the opposite? I put zero stock into what Scott Boras says.
Interesting.
Zero.
Even though it's a little different. Like if AJ toys with the media, okay, he's not responsible to the media. But if he toys with representation, isn't there potential pushback with that? Like,
why would you tell the representation of Juan Soto, yeah, we're actually going to trade him?
Well, not necessarily that, but you would think that if the Padres are going to have conversations with Scott Boras about his clients and or extending out his clients, you'd want to have a level of truthfulness in there. Now, I think to your point, agents, I mean, you don't have to tell agents. You can't be like, hey, agent, we're not going to ever trade your client. I mean, it doesn't work like that.
No.
Obviously, trades can happen. And I agree with you. By and large, why would the Padres say anything other than they plan to incorporate a lineup around Juan Soto or build a lineup around Juan Soto? Why wouldn't you build your lineup around Juan Soto? Until someone tells you can't, until they're forced to move Juan Soto. And clearly, there's no directive. I don't think the day one directive. We would have read about it. Is there a day one directive right now from Peter Seidler? He has to move? No, we've heard he may move, and here are reasons why. But I don't think anyone said he has to move.
No.
There's a directive to move him. They will move him. We haven't heard that.
We have not. I know Kevin came out with an article at 6:00 yesterday.
Literally 6:00.
The second the show ended, I was listening to the show and watching it on YouTube. And then I saw the article from Kevin. And the main thing in there was, I think that, by the way, don't count on the Padres going after Shohei Ohtani this offseason. I kind of viewed that article a little differently. I viewed it as, so they're just going to say, F it, we don't need a manager right now, which is kind of what they're saying. We're going to put a pause on the managerial search. We're more focused on our roster construction, when in reality, the main bulk of people's roster constructions, teams' roster constructions, don't happen the second the free agency starts. You rarely see any of the big names or any big trades happen on November 8th.
Now, I will say this. We have an update on the Padres managerial search.
Oh, we do.
And they are close per the general manager of the Padres. This is AJ Cassavell within the last 30 seconds. He is at the GM meetings. He says, AJ Preller says he thinks the Padres are somewhat close to a hire. We'll make a decision here at some point. I can't say it'll be in the next 24 hours, but I would say over the weekend into the early part of next week.
So, again, my question is, what are you waiting for?
What's interesting is when you read that quote, we'll make a decision here at some point. I can't say it'll be in the next 24 hours. So, it's not like the candidate's been chosen based on that quote. I mean, are they just working with someone's representation to get the deal ironed out? Is it 2 years? Is it 4 years? Is it 3 years? What is the holdup? Like we said during the fusion with Darren, like, is the reason for the holdup because they're not certain on the candidate or the hire, or because it's just semantics and some of this can take time and they've already made up their mind, but now they're going to negotiate a contract? Like, what is the reason for, I would call it not like a huge delay, but certainly a slight delay when you look at what's going on around baseball?
And if it turns out to be Schilt or Flaherty, then it's like, really, what is the holdup?
Right.
You've had them here for years. You've essentially been interviewing them to be your future manager for how many months now? Like the whole if Ryan Flaherty becomes this team's manager, to me, that's just another bad look on AJ. Put it on the list, put on the pile of bad looks on the general manager. You've had this guy in your organization for how long? You've gone through rumors of this guy becoming the successor to,
I don't know what you said, but
successor towards Bob.
Daytime radio.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting back into the groove of things.
Yeah,
of Bob Melvin for months now, while Bob Melvin was still here under contract as the manager of the Padres. That to me would just signal like what we've been talking about. You don't want to make this seem like you've had a manager already set in your mind while Bob was still here.
So an appearance thing that because they're using more time, they can then say they exhausted all options. So yes, we hired Mike Schilt, but we talked to Carlos Mendoza and Benji Gill and David Ross, and it was a long drawn out process involving multiple individuals. But at the end of the day, we thought Mike Schilt or Ryan Flaherty was the best candidate. That's actually a really good theory. If they go with Schilt or Flaherty, you could always go back to that theory that they wanted the optics to be, they wanted to be certain. If it's not Schilt or Flaherty, then maybe it was like a legitimate, not to say it's an illegitimate process if it's Schilt or Flaherty, but if it's not Schilt or Flaherty, you can at least be like, well, I guess they were serious when they said they were going to open it up and they wanted the best candidate. Like, he kind of said that a couple of weeks ago. Hey, we're getting a lot of interest.
Also, too, this signals that maybe they're not sold on the potential candidates as of right now.
Maybe.
Because if they were sold, they would have hired him by now. Like, back when, like today, the Angels hired Ron Washington. It was reported last night that Ron Washington was getting an interview with the Angels. Boom. Next day, he's the manager.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Counsell on the market. Not that long.
One
day. Boom. He's the manager of the Cubs. Carlos Mendoza. He was on the market for about a week. Boom. Mets manager. Done. Stephen Vogt.
Yeah.
Or Vogt. However you say his last name. Stephen Vogt. Vogt.
It's a good, what is it?
Stephen Vogt?
Because I'm getting confused with Luke Voigt.
Yeah.
I think it's Stephen Vogt.
Vogt. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, I think you screwed that up in 6 updates on Monday.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Well, I was out of it.
But I'm not sure, actually.
Stephen Vogt.
That's okay, Jim. I told everyone the Lakers and the Rockets tipped at 5 yesterday.
And
they
it's
didn't
today.
even play.
That's
Good
okay.
point.
Now you get how I feel, Brent. Stephen Vogt. I'll say Vogt.
It's Vogt.
Vogt. Okay.
It's Vogt.
Stephen Vogt. Pretty quickly became the manager of the Guardians. If one of these guys stood out, don't you think that they would have announced a hire by now? Like, don't you think, oh man, Ryan Flaherty blew us out of the water in his interview process. Got to hire him. Or Benji Gill just blew us out of the water. Same thing with Mike Schilt. Don't you think that if somebody who you have interviewed so far has really stood out to you, you would have hired him by now?
Yes, other than your initial point of the optics of it wouldn't be good if the day you lost Bob Melvin to San Francisco was the day you hired Mike Schilt. Or 24 hours later or 48 hours later, because you'd be like, they did this with intent, almost like he was pushed out the door. If you take a member of Melvin's staff and then hire him in the immediate aftermath of Melvin going to San Francisco. So maybe it speaks to your point, which is if they would have made the hire quickly and it's someone internal, it just makes them look bad. And by waiting it off for another week and interviewing Benji Gill and potentially David Ross and Carlos Mendoza, it gives the appearance that they were doing a long, drawn-out search.
How about this? Whatever they do is going to make them look bad.
Whatever they do is going to make them look bad?
Because they've already ran Bob Melvin out the door. Nobody in baseball is kind of no one understands what the hell happened here. And it's like, wait, you got rid of Bob for what? What? Why'd you get rid of Bob? So maybe it's a situation where they don't care about what it looks like. But at the same time, they want to just make sure they, quote, go through the entire due diligence process.
At the end of the day, to your point, they may not look good, but they have looked good before, and what has it bought them? Like at the end of the day, who cares if the media agrees with your timeline or your hire, or if you win off seasons and you make acquisitions that people deem to be good, but then you don't win on field? This goes back to something we've been talking about now for weeks. Like, all that they should be worrying about is finding ways to add to their win total. And I don't know the best way to do it, but go find the manager that can do that. That's what the Cubs think they've done. They can't guarantee it, but the reason they made the change was to add to their win total in 2024 and beyond. Anything AJ Preller's working on right now shouldn't have to do with, well, I wonder how the media receives this or the fan base receives this. It's got to be solely about finding ways to squeeze wins out of the 2024 team, which is going to be hard.
It's going to be very hard. I think people don't. I don't know if some of you guys out there really understand how much this roster is going to, how different this roster is going to look next year, and the amount of work that AJ Preller has to do this offseason to put together a potential, World Series type of roster, or at least a playoff type of roster that can get you to a World Series. You have to replace a lot. 3/5 of your rotation. You need a first baseman. You need another catcher. You need probably another outfielder. The Juan Soto thing is, I think, the black cloud over this team right now in this offseason. The money, getting 50+ million, off of your payroll, and a new manager and a new coaching staff, bench pieces. Like, there is a lot to do this offseason with this team. And I'm just kind of wondering why the manager is being pushed to the side essentially right now to focus on your roster, when we all know damn well that you're not going to be making any signings or any big time trades right now. You could, but I just don't see that happening
on cue, or maybe they are, because AJ Cassavell goes on to say that on Juan Soto, Preller says the two sides will continue to discuss the possibility of an extension.
Yeah, I don't buy.
He goes on to say this. He also acknowledged that Juan long-term, as opposed to Juan on a one-year deal, this Preller, that brings different dynamics. We understand what that means for our roster, both short-term and long-term. That's a really interesting quote. The Preller saying that, listen, if he's here long-term, that's a lot different than on a one-year deal. And if it is just 1 year, does that change our approach? And do we open up the possibility of course you're going to listen, but beyond listen, would they actually consider making a move before the season? But it's almost like he's acknowledging that by saying there's a difference between Soto on a long-term deal and Soto on a one-year deal.
Yes.
Isn't them saying that they want to, continue to try and negotiate a deal, like saying, I hope the sun comes out tomorrow. It's like, well, no crap,
Right.
You guys are going to continue to negotiate. I didn't think you were going to come out tomorrow and just be like, nope, we're not even going to talk to him. We're not even going to negotiate or do anything. We're just not going to talk. It's like,
by the way,
no one's expecting that.
Do you buy that?
I don't, but let me say this.
All the other crap they've been spewing the last couple of weeks.
What I do buy isn't the hey, they're going to get anywhere close to an extension. I buy that they might talk about an extension. I do buy that now there's a distinct possibility they would consider moving him, because Preller's basically acknowledging there's a difference between a long-term Soto and a short-term Soto. And you know what that difference is? You'd consider moving the player with 1 year on his deal as opposed to 10 years. But there's more. AJ Cassavell says this about declining the options on Michael Wacha and Nick Martinez. The first move of the offseason, this is a quote from Preller, we just weren't comfortable at those price points. We're very open to those guys coming back. An acknowledgement that payroll is going to be a factor, maybe for the first time, because 2 weeks ago he said, we don't know what the payroll is going to be. But now he's saying that bringing back Wacha and Martinez at that price point doesn't work for us, maybe at a lesser price point. So my point is, we're getting confirmation on things we've heard. Oh, would they move Soto? Well, have we heard it from the organization? Well, he's saying there's a difference between long-term Juan and short-term Juan. And now he's saying, do you want Martinez or Wacha? Yeah, we want him, but not at that price point. So an acknowledgement that the payroll is going to come down.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, type of stuff. Like the Juan Soto thing, the more time passes and the more things that come out, I'll believe it when he's on this roster next year. when I see it. Just knowing the dynamics and everything that's been reported, you got to get down to 200. That's what we're led to believe here, and could be wrong. They could go into next year with a $220 million payroll.
Sure,
but I think the more time passes, the more we hear and we start seeing things. It's like, okay, they're trying to get this thing down by a significant number. And if Juan Soto returns, his price point is going to be about 30 million plus next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to do math when you go online and you see the payroll with him on it is about 200 million. With you needing 3 other starters at least, with you needing a first baseman, with you needing a catcher, an outfielder, and bench pieces.
Yeah, no, there is no question about it. By the way, remember we said earlier, AJ Cassavell saying, they're getting close on a manager. John Morosi wrote it this way. That sounds a lot more like it's about to happen. He says the Padres are in the final stages of hiring their new manager. AJ Preller confirmed to reporters today. That's not exactly what AJ Cassavell said. He said that Preller was quoted saying, well, I don't know if it'll be in the next 24 hours, but maybe over the weekend, early next week. So does that mean they're in the final stages and they have a candidate?
Yeah.
John Morosi kind of said yes.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. If you were after interviews liking somebody, wouldn't you want to make sure that that guy was your manager?
Right, lock him up.
Like I know that nobody else is interviewing Ryan Flaherty. Nobody else is interviewing Schilt or even Benji Gill for that matter. So you're basically bidding with nobody. Like you don't have to worry about anybody else. With Craig Counsell, you had to worry. Even Carlos Mendoza, you had to worry because he was being interviewed by multiple teams. Bob Melvin, you had to worry. Other teams weren't going after Bob Melvin, but Bob Melvin wanted to go to San Francisco, and San Francisco called, and that happened. But you're not bidding with anybody else. So what are you waiting for?
Were they waiting on the Angels to not hire Benji Gill? He was a candidate.
Then why wait? Just hire him right
hire
away
him beforehand.
Like don't wait on this. Don't have the opportunity for someone else to come in.
I mean, okay, if they hire a manager on Saturday, are we gonna be like, man, I can't believe they waited until November 11th?
No, we won't.
It's not gonna be a talking point at all.
No, it won't be. You're right.
I don't think it. The only way it becomes a talking point is if it's really odd.
It's like December.
Like it's Thanksgiving Day, and then hire somebody. Like something went wrong, like seriously wrong. But I don't expect that to happen. Reading what John Morosi's writing and reading what AJ Cassavell is writing now, I think it's a question. Why this much time? I think might be a question for AJ Preller the next time he addresses the media with this new manager. All right, Elijah Saunders will join us on the other side. San Diego State rising sophomore. What a performance in his first ever collegiate start. Monday night against Cal State Fullerton, a career-high 9 points for Elijah Saunders. He's going to be a big part of the Aztecs here in 2023-24. They've been on the practice floor. We're able to catch up with Elijah Saunders in just a handful of minutes. We have tickets to give away today to the Rady Children's Invitational. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. Bryce Miller from the UT will join us at 4:30 on this Padres managerial search. Elijah Saunders, Aztecs sophomore forward, joins us next on Jon and Jim. All right, Elijah Saunders, San Diego State men's basketball forward, made his first career start this past Monday against Cal State Fullerton. He'll join us off the practice court next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with baseball news of the day. The Angels, they have hired Ron Washington to be their new manager, leaving the Padres and the Brewers as the only two teams remaining without managers hired this offseason. And San Diego State takes on BYU this Friday, 6 p.m. tip-off there. Of course, you can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts for Friday. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday seasons right now. Save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
All right, as Jim just said, Friday night, San Diego State on the road, 6 o'clock Pacific tip time, Marriott Center, Provo, Utah. San Diego State, BYU renewing a longtime rivalry. Our pregame coverage will begin at 5:30 Pacific. Elijah Saunders is coming off his first career college start. Big game Monday night against Cal State Fullerton, career high 9 points in 18 minutes. And Elijah's joining us right now. Jon and Jim. So, Elijah, first of all, thank you and congratulations on the win in the opener. What was the experience like? All the build up with the banners, and how did you make sure you stayed ready for the moment and found a way to beat Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, first off, I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me on. It's a great experience to come on here, but it was a good night. I don't think I've ever seen that many fans in there that early. Usually fans it'll usually by the first media it'll feel packed in there, but throughout the whole warm-ups and everything, there were so many fans there, and seeing the banners go down, it was a really cool experience. He reminded of
And on the night that you raised the Final Four banner, and of course the Mountain West tournament and Mountain West regular season banners as well for you, was there little jitters before the game? How were you feeling before the start of the game on Monday?
I would say that was the best I felt in VA hockey yet. You know, I really felt the energy from the crowd. But no, I actually wasn't nervous at all.
Wow.
Usually, I remember last year, checking in when I checked in the game in the Fullerton game, feeling like, oh, I'm really in the game. But before the ball was tipped, I really had no nerves. But it was really cool to play in that game and the fans. I felt like we got so much energy from the fans when we went on our runs. So no, it was a really good experience.
Elijah Saunders is with us, rising sophomore for the Aztecs. So coming off last year, where you get a chance to contribute, but it was such a veteran team. And then, of course, there's the magical run in the NCAA tournament. What did you prioritize? What were your goals in the offseason to put yourself in a position where you could have a night like Monday night where you're starting and contributing and playing like 20 minutes?
I would say that was what you just said was exactly my goal for this offseason. Just to put myself in the position where I would have an opportunity to compete for minutes. That was really my goal. This off season was to just be ready. I feel like sometimes last year I wasn't ready, fully prepared to the best of my ability. But this off season, my focus was just to be prepared and give the coaches belief in me and hopefully build trust with them so they'd have me on the floor. So it was really cool to start on Monday, and it just goes to show the coaches belief in me and throughout the work I put in.
And yeah, it looks like you transformed your body in the offseason as well. Was that a big priority for you?
Yeah, it was funny. I was actually looking at some pictures from the game. I was looking at some pictures from April, and in April I was probably like 260, and up on the scale this morning I was 235.
Wow.
So I lost a good amount of weight, but kept my strength. I still feel strong, but just I feel like I'm quicker. I feel more explosive. So I just feel like staying more focused and being more locked in has really kept my weight down and kept me in better shape.
Elijah Saunders with us right now. Jon and Jim, again, the Aztecs 1-0. They'll get BYU on Friday night in Provo. Elijah, what's it like, A, being on the floor with Jaden and watching his abilities and his performance, like what he did on Monday night, but also what's it like practicing against Jaden day in and day out?
Yeah, yeah. It was exciting. It was exciting to see his work be shown. All of us know what he can do, what he's capable of. He does it every day in practice. So, I feel like me and Heidi had probably guarded him the most in the preseason. And, we understand that, he's really good.
Yeah.
So, for the rest of the country to be able to see now, his full game. I think he had his first college three, but we know he can shoot. Like, it was his first three in college, but it didn't surprise any of us. We know his game, we know what he's capable of. So it was just cool to see him show, the country what he's really capable of.
And you hit the first basket of the season, 3-pointer, top of the key. Is that something the coaching staff has told you that they want to see more from you, is to expand out to the 3-point line as well?
Yeah, I'm a good shooter. I was really, coming out of high school, on the summer circuit, I really just used to pick and pop. That was something that really separated me from other guys my size. And if I'm open, shoot the ball. Take shots that are open. Because we might not get another shot like that in the possession. So it's just for me, if I'm open shoot, I feel like I'm a good shooter. So no, definitely, that's just something to drive along.
Elijah, what was the recruitment process like for you in terms of what you saw in the fit between yourself and San Diego State and what the coaching staff saw in you to make you work with the roster they have here on the Mesa?
Yeah, I've always been someone who's wanted to be a better defender, play harder, and things like that. So, I understood that coming here, I was going to be part of my identity. Coming up in high school, I didn't always compete the hardest. I wasn't always the best rebounder. I feel like I didn't play the hardest, but I knew that coming here, that would become how I played. You're either gonna defend, rebound, or you're not gonna play. So, I knew that coming to this program, I was gonna become a better defender, and I feel my game evolving on the defensive end and competing wise. So it's been exactly what I signed up for.
Elijah, coming out of Monday night, winning by 20 plus points, you might view it as like, oh yeah, that was a really good game. But do you guys feel that you left a lot out there? Because there was a lot of threes missed, free throws, offensive rebounds, a little bit of a problem with Cal State Fullerton. Do you guys feel like you guys, left out a lot out there against Cal State Fullerton, and there's still a lot of improvement here, especially going into BYU this Friday, which is going to be a tough task for you guys?
Yeah, I feel like there's always stuff to improve on, and wins and losses. And if you look at our tape from last year at the end, in our tournament run, how polished the offense was. It takes time for everyone to, learn each other's games and see their spots on the court. So, I definitely feel like we're getting there. Being up 2 points at halftime wasn't our goal for the game, but coming out in the second half, I feel like really turned our energy up and play how we need to play.
What's it going to take, Elijah? I know you played BYU last year. It was a very good game that San Diego State won at Viejas Arena. BYU's always been a strong program like San Diego State. What's it going to take to win in Provo on Friday night?
Stopping the transition. They try to get out and run, and especially, I haven't been there yet, but they say, it's one of the hardest places to play in the country, especially with the crowd. They hit a lot of threes. Can't let them hit threes, get the crowd involved, and offensively just play our game. We have so many dynamic scorers on this team that it's really not. I wouldn't say it's hard for us to score, but just because of the guys that we have. So as long as we just play together, we're going to be good on offense. But defensively, don't let them hit transition threes.
Elijah, congratulations on everything you've accomplished thus far at San Diego State, from last year's magical run to Monday night, making that start and contributing in such a big way against Fullerton. And we will see you on Friday night in Utah. And thanks for taking time for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right. Elijah Saunders, again, getting an opportunity to start. Darian Trammell out. Yeah, he could very well start Friday night. We don't know Trammell's status. Even if Trammell returns, I would assume that Saunders could start. And even if he doesn't start, it's not going to change his role. That was like last year's team. Like, you had 9 starters, but 4 came off the bench, and they were all huge, like Jaden Ledee for the team.
And I just keep harping back to every time I see Miles Byrd out there and Elijah Saunders, at the Final Four, it's you heard last season from Dutch, hey, we got some good players that aren't even playing right now. And he mentioned Saunders and Byrd. Those guys were freshmen. And so going into this season, Elijah Saunders, I asked him about his body, and he's got down to 235.
Yeah, that's correct. 25 pounds. That's a lot of weight.
He's jacked.
Yeah.
Like he's the one person that stood out to me seen on Monday night as far as like transformation of the body goes, like their body goes. He stood out to me like, oh, like, whoa.
Matt Mitchell did it between his sophomore and junior years.
Yeah.
He slimmed down 20 plus pounds, maybe 30.
Yeah.
And it really transformed his ability on the floor.
Yeah.
Both ends.
And coming into year 2, that you almost feel like that happens like when you're like a senior or like
maybe later, a little bit later in your career. Yeah.
But just year 2, you're already that aware of
you need to do it,
like how you need to take care of your body and what you need to look like and make sure that you look healthy and you feel healthy. And he's doing that right now.
I think he's gonna have a very nice year. Now, it's been one game, but he's going to play a large role. I know that for San Diego State. We have an update on Ruben Niebla, Padres pitching coach. Will he be back in 2024 or not? We'll let you know next on Jon and Jim. All right, Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla, will he be back or not? That is next. Plus, Bryce Miller from the UT will join us at 4:30 on Jon and Jim. All right, AJ Content Cassaville this afternoon at the GM meetings.
Oh, I like that
in
nickname.
Scottsdale.
AJ Content Cassaville. Yeah.
With a series of tweets that have all provided value. The most recent, just a few minutes ago, Preller has been hesitant to make definitive statements about his coaching staff without a manager hire yet, but he confirmed that Ruben Niebla, under contract for next season, will be back as pitching coach. So you could argue that's more important than whomever that they hire. And does that have anything to do with the holdup that you're hiring a manager that is on board with your pitching coach? But then again, Bob Melvin was, and he was a veteran 20-year manager.
Yeah, whoever they hire probably won't get much like definitive say. And by definitive say, I mean the final decision on
in their staff?
The majority of the staff.
Oh, really? That would surprise me.
I would think that person will get to choose a couple. But you look at Amy Green and Jace Tingler's staffs, how much say did they have in those staffs?
Okay, so let me ask you this then. The 2023 staff, how will it compare to the 2024 staff? Like how many coaches do you think will be back from that staff? You think it'll be more than 2?
Well, you already have Ben Fritz, bullpen coach.
You have him back?
Yeah, like he's already. I think he's returning.
They've said that?
Ruben Niebla.
Well, that's my point. The only one that's been confirmed per AJ.
You're losing Ryan Christensen. You're losing Bob Melvin. You're losing Matt Williams. Those are your definitive losses.
And my point is, I think you're going to lose more than that, unless it gets shoulder Flaherty and you retain.
If it's not Flaherty, does he return as your offensive coordinator? Which is the dumbest thing ever.
That's the thing. You would typically when you hire a manager brings in pieces to surround himself with.
Oh, not here, John.
Really? I mean, maybe Melvin was different. I mean, I think you work in concert with the manager. I wouldn't think you hire a manager and then you just hire his staff. Well, it goes back to the problems you've had. I mean,
AJ will have the manager collaborate, but it's like the last 3 managers,
Right. They've hired the staff.
Bob has been more. I think Bob, of the last 3 managers that have been here, 4, I mean Pat Murphy, had the most say in his staff.
Well, Pat Murphy didn't hire staff, right? He was hired mid-season.
Yeah, but
So Buddy Black's staff.
that staff, Pat Murphy didn't hire anybody there.
Yeah, well,
Pat
of
Murphy
course Pat Murphy wouldn't, because I'm saying he never had an off season,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So there's no hiring of any staff in season, but out of season, it's a fair point. Your point is Preller is far-reaching, the tentacles of his regime.
Oh yeah.
So maybe part of the hire is, okay, you're going to be the manager, but it's going to be my staff. My point is, I think a lot of managers want to have an ability to make hires, like Bob Melvin is doing, obviously, with the Christensen and the Williams and whatever else is going on in San Francisco.
Yeah, you want to be surrounded with people that you trust.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be surrounded with people that you know.
Right.
And I don't know how much that plays here in San Diego.
Yeah, I don't. It's a good point.
So AJ's going to have a lot of stay in the staff. We know that.
Of course. I mean,
he cares about the staff, right? He doesn't give full autonomy to the manager, even though he might say it. We know that, like Ryan Flaherty and Ruben Niebla, Ben Fritz, those guys were hired by AJ Preller, and they were put onto Bob's staff. We know that.
True, but I'm saying even the guys that AJ has hired on previous staffs. I mean, we've read about what Dennis Lin has written. Like, no team in baseball has had more coaches, under Preller than the Padres, like over that period of time. So
yeah,
there's a lot of. I'm saying he's tinkering, he's hiring and firing, even if
because Preller never gets it right. Like he goes through his managers every other year, goes through different hitting coaches every season.
Right.
The coaching staff is never the same every year. It's always different. There's always different like dynamics. And if they are the same, the following year it just turns into mush and sucks.
Yeah.
So we saw with Tingler, he had no say, like 0 say. He was in all the meetings,
sure, but you're saying the staff was hired around.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had the issue with hiring Jace Tingler is you're not hiring someone that has worked with a lot of coaching staff. You're hiring someone that never managed at any level. So he's going to need help filling out his staff. Melvin wouldn't need that help, and we don't know who they're going to hire. I think if you're Mike Schilt, well, you've had a lot of coaches work underneath you, like in St. Louis. So maybe you have some candidates you want to pull from for your staff. But Flaherty, Gill, Mendoza not being hired, it's a fair point. Like maybe as first-time managers, they wouldn't have as much of a say. But like if you're hiring David Ross or Mike Schilt, I would think they'd want to hire a good portion of their coaching staff.
Well, good luck doing that here.
Yeah, maybe.
Good portion? What do you say? How would you define good portion?
I mean, I would think, I don't know how many people are even on the staff.
Well, you're not hiring your own pitching coach.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. And everyone's on board with that.
Yeah, I think everybody should.
But I would think the rest of your staff, you would have a pretty significant say in determining it.
First-time manager? I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. But what if it isn't? What if it's Mike Schilt, not a first-time manager, and he's the leader in the clubhouse?
Maybe that's the holdup.
Or what if you hired David Ross, who was a 4-year manager in Chicago as recently as this past season?
I don't know if David Ross would give that much autonomy to AJ Preller to hire a majority of his staff.
Yeah. So maybe these are maybe it's who knows what's going on behind the scenes. But
I can tell you this. It's not smooth. That things are not going smoothly. I don't believe it.
Right.
I don't believe that everybody's on the same page. Because if everybody was, I think they would have had a manager by now. And
maybe.
And here's an interesting thing. So read the quote again from AJ Content Casavell today.
Right. Which one?
About Juan Soto. Read that one first.
Right.
And then I want you to read the one about picking up the options on players.
All right, so the Soto one, Preller says the two sides will continue to discuss the possibility of an extension. He also acknowledged that Soto long-term, Soto on a 1-year deal, that brings different dynamics. We understand what that means for our roster, both short and long-term. He then said, AJ Casco wrote, on declining the Nick Martinez and Michael Wacha team options, AJ Preller said, the first move of the offseason, we just weren't comfortable at those price points. We are very open to those guys coming back.
So if you weren't comfortable, it's going to be, I'm very curious to see what this payroll will be. Because in one thing, you're saying you're talking about an extension for Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
In the next, you're talking about not bringing back majority of your pitching staff for not like crazy numbers, not crazy money, because you weren't comfortable with those numbers.
Right.
So what is it? Are you, dealing with a payroll where you can go out and sign a guy for $500 million? Or are you dealing with a payroll where you have to, nickel and dime this thing because you are having to get this thing down to a number that is comfortable for the organization?
It's the latter. It's the fact that they're going to deal with financial constraints, and that, of course, you have to say publicly listen, you have to entertain the idea of extension. You have to sit at the table.
Always have to.
You have to be heard out, and you have to say publicly, we are interested in the extension, even if you have to. You cannot say at this point, you're losing leverage, by the way, saying that you're not entertaining extension. You have to entertain an extension. It gives you leverage in a trade deal.
Yeah.
Hey, we're still talking to Boris about an extension. You want him? Because we're talking to him about an extension.
Isn't it wild though? This is just me personally. How anything he says now, I just don't like. I just don't believe him at all.
Yeah, I mean that's some of it. It's like, and we'll talk about the other side. Some of it you're not going to be truthful about. I mean, what can you say about Soto other than saying that, of course, we'd entertain a long-term extension? Wouldn't every general manager say that? Would any general manager say we have to move him?
No.
Not until you get a directive flowing your ownership.
I just feel that everything that he says now has to be almost dissected because of how much that he has misled people in the past, as recently with the Bob Melvin thing.
Potentially. We can get into that on the other side. Plus, Bryce Miller from the UT will join us coming up at 4:30. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Baseball news of the day: Ron Washington is hired to be the new Angels manager. AJ Cassavell reporting moments ago that AJ Preller has confirmed that Ruben Niebla will be back as the pitching coach for the Padres next season, even though he confirmed that Bob Melvin was returning next year, and look what happened there. Anyway, moving on to San Diego State. They take on BYU this Friday night, 6 p.m. at tip-off there. In San Diego State football takes on Colorado State, 4 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. 2 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. Later on this hour, Bryce Miller, columnist for the UT, will join us at 4:30. We'll get into this Padres managerial search. We'll talk to him about some Aztecs basketball. So I'm over at Viejas Arena earlier today for Brian Dutcher's weekly press conference. So Bryce Miller will join us this hour. Also this hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational. We'll do that for Trainwreck Radio. We'll get to the wrap, of course, this hour as well. I feel like there was something I wanted to say to you off the top of this hour, and I completely forget.
I'm an idiot.
No, not really. I don't think it was that. We'll get to it right now. Let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you think Ron Washington was a good hire by the Angels?
Well, you can say to Ron Washington, Shohei Ohtani's not walking through that door. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I just don't think the Angels are going to be winning much. So unless all of a sudden, with all the infield drills that Ron Washington does with his team, they're going to become the greatest defensive team known to the history of baseball and pitch really well and have timely hitting. It's a fine hire. I don't think it's anything special.
Yeah, you make a really good point. It's like, and we've said this in San Diego, you can hire anyone, but that doesn't fix the roster. So you have to have a roster that's capable of winning with, no matter who you are as a manager. I agree with you. He's been very successful. He's been a good coach. He's been a good manager. Okay? He's been a very successful coach and a very successful manager. But you're talking about dynamics in Anaheim that don't exist with the Texas Rangers or the Atlanta Braves, places he's been a lot. Anaheim's tough, not because they don't spend, but because they don't win. You got an aging star in Mike Trout. You got questions everywhere around him. I mean, they never win. Padres have had issues. Angels have had way more issues. So I agree with you. I think he could be there for a couple of years. I don't know if he could win, though, over those couple of years.
And the thing that Ron Washington doesn't have on his side is, I mean, he's not a young manager. Like, he is in the Dusty Baker, not Bruce Bochy yet, but like, do you see Ron Washington be there for like 5, 6, 7 years?
No, he's the oldest manager in baseball now.
Yeah.
He's the oldest manager in baseball, 71.
I feel like, look, Ron Washington, if he gets offered a job, I'm sure he's the type of guy that's absolutely, I want to take that job.
Yeah.
I want to prove everybody wrong. Just that's the type of guy who he is. But I don't see them winning like the Astros or the Rangers, pretty quickly here. It's going to take some time.
I agree with that. I do. All right, next question.
What's a tougher game for the Aztecs this weekend? Basketball at BYU or football at Colorado State?
That is a great question. That is a great question. Because both are difficult.
They are.
I'll go, just because of history, I'll just go San Diego State at BYU. When you're 4-30 all time in Provo, no matter what, it's a tough matchup. So with the statistics and the numbers there, I'll say San Diego State basketball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't know where to go on this, but you're right. I mean, San Diego State football is like a 3.5-point underdog against Colorado State. Both of the teams are 3-6. It's not like you're going on the road to take on a team
Alabama
that has that obviously. But I mean, even like you're not at Fresno State. You're at Colorado State, and there's been a difference on the football side. The thing with BYU is they're always good at home, and they're usually good in general. But the dynamic is hard. I mean, San Diego State is 4-30 all time at the Marriott Center. That speaks for itself, and they've had great teams, right? The Kawhi Leonards, the X-Thames, the Malachi Flynn's. Now, they won up there in 2019. Last time up there was a close game, but they lost in 2021. It's a tough game. Both are winnable. Both are winnable. I think Brian Dutcher told me post-game Monday night, we need to play a perfect game, is what he said, to win at BYU on Monday night. So I agree with you. I think it'll be San Diego State at BYU. I hope it's a great game. And I think it will be, by the way. Next question.
Is Victor Wembanyama still or already a top 10 player in the NBA?
Dude, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
He's
really
great.
good.
He's been great. Top 10 is high.
It's very high. I'm trying to think of like
I'd say no.
Yeah, he's top 15
Okay.
already. I think he's top 15.
I don't know if I'd even go
I don't know if he's top 10. Because you got Jokic, Steph, Luka,
Giannis,
Embiid, Dame,
Did you say LeBron?
KD.
80. He's not in street clothes.
Yes, that might be a stretch to say top 10 today.
I'd say maybe top 25, maybe.
Here's the
which
thing.
is good considering he's only been in the league for 2 weeks.
What's their record? I know it's only been 7 or 8 games.
I don't know.
2-5, 3-4, maybe.
But
He's playing 28.9 minutes, 19.4 points,
3 and 4.
3 and 4, 46% shooting, 32% from 3, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2.6 blocks. Huge number.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is very nice, very good. In terms of like gaudy,
you see it.
you
though.
see it. Oh yeah, you do. And I've watched him a couple times now. He's fun to watch.
You're like
He's special.
you're like in 2 years.
He's gonna be like the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I think the trajectory is. To your point, I think it's top 15ish now with a trajectory to be the best player in the league as like a 21-year-old.
If he gets bigger, he's going to learn the game more. He's in a perfect situation with Pop.
I agree,
dude. Some of the stuff he's doing, you're like, what?
Oh, he is. No, you're right.
That's why it's funny because I saw a GIF the other day of Wembanyama within like 2 years of if he puts on the same amount of muscle and progresses like Giannis did. Because you remember how skinny Giannis was when he got drafted, and then he hit the weights and he put muscle on. That he'll be
right now. He's
guy.
already a better shooter than Giannis. Like way better shooter than him.
Right. No, he's gonna be a great player, and he already is a great player. Next question.
Which one of these teams will make their manager hire last? The Padres, the Brewers, or the Astros?
I'm going to say the Brewers just because they have had less time.
Just came up. Yeah.
It like just came up. I think maybe they expected Craig Counsell to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So just because of that, I'm going to say the Brewers.
I agree. I think it's the Brewers because they just, found out it was this week, right? Was the hire made official on Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Craig Counsell hire was Monday.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about just a couple of days. It's reasonable to assume they could need a week plus. Maybe not, but it's reasonable to assume they could need a week plus. AJ Preller quoted today by AJ Cassavell as saying, I don't know if it'll be the next 24 hours, but it could be this weekend or early next week. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think they'll all be done by next week. I think they'll all be done. I think Padres, Brewers, and Astros will all have made a hire by the end of next week, and then we'll turn our attention to the winter meetings, which is the first week of December after Thanksgiving. I think that's your timeline. Managers get hired all by the end of next week. You're in the middle of November. You then have Thanksgiving, and then essentially the week after Thanksgiving, maybe it's 10 days after Thanksgiving, you have the winter meetings in Nashville. And that's when things really get interesting with these rosters, trade possibilities, overall salary numbers for AJ Preller.
Did you hear Jim Bowden with Darren today?
I did not.
He mentioned a name that was interesting. And this is a total off the radar type of move that AJ has done the last 2 times he's hired managers.
Okay. Who's the name?
Alex Cora from the Red Sox. And the reasoning was they just hired a new GM there. Usually new GMs want to have their own guy.
Yeah.
Alex Cora, maybe you could go and ask for permission to interview him, right? He said Alex Cora would be a perfect fit for this Padres team.
Reason being, and it's a better fit than what he's going through right now in Boston, or just because you've got a change that the GM is going to want to bring in his piece. As in, it's not necessarily Cora that wants to go. but the GM wants Cora to go? As in, if you're Cora, why do you want to leave?
I think it was more Alex Cora fits with the Padres really well.
Better than Boston.
And in Boston, when you you have a new GM, maybe that, Alex Cora might not be too long for the manager job in Boston.
It goes back to everything we've now said for like weeks, because this is literally weeks since Melvin departed 2 weeks ago. We knew about it a day or two before. So it's been like 16 days. It goes back to the overall point. We've put so much like breath into it, so much emphasis. I mean, I hate to put it this way because I don't truly feel what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Do it.
It doesn't matter. It does matter because you got to get it right, but it doesn't matter because there's so many other things that matter more, I guess is my point. Of course it matters, but we can't say the day they make the hire, they made the right hire. We only know into the future whether they did or not. So it's like, if they hire Alex Cora tomorrow or David Ross, I don't know if it's right or wrong. But what I do know is they're still dealing with the Soto thing, the rotation thing, the bullpen thing, the disappointing season thing. So I don't know if Alex Cora solves anything. Not to say managers don't matter. I don't know if David Ross does. I don't know if Benji Gill does. It's like you spend so much time on it. Like at the end of the day, we're parsing like Schilt, Gill. I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, according to Talking Red Sox, here, says that Alex Cora has a huge voice with the Red Sox. Not happening.
Oh, Talking Red Sox. That's hilarious.
Anyway,
everyone, and by the way, it's so funny because everyone's like, "Oh man, if they could get David Ross," and then you talk to anyone that's watching the Cubs the last 4 years, like, I don't know if that's the right hire.
I don't know about that.
And then you're like, "Oh, they could have hired." Everyone's got pros and cons at this point. Outside of the Bochy's and the Melvins, even Melvin. Listen to Padres fans in San Diego. There is a large subsection that believes Bob Melvin was the reason the team wasn't good.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying it's 90%, but I'm saying there is definitely a group of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's not 10 people.
No.
And I don't know, but there's people, right? So I'm saying, like, if Bochy and Melvin aren't good enough, Bochy's a different category. But if Melvin's not good enough, then I don't know if you're appeasing anyone with who you're about to hire. And I just don't know how much it's going to matter in terms of the win-loss record.
Yeah, I don't know how much it's going to matter either. Like we just talked about Ron Washington. He's going to go with the Angels. But,
perfect example.
What's he dealing with? He's just lost Shohei Ohtani. Who knows about Mike Trout? They just never can get it right as far as roster goes there.
Mm-hmm.
How much is Ron Washington going to matter?
Yeah, like you said, because he's not going to be given probably he's not going to be there 6 years.
No, he's going to be there like 3.
Yeah,
tops.
Max. Exactly. And that's probably why they made that hire. They'll figure it out if it doesn't work on the other side.
Yeah. But you also need a guy. The dynamics here in San Diego, I feel like, are different though.
Than Anaheim?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Because in Anaheim, Ron can push his weight around a little bit. Like, there's nobody in that clubhouse with the ego of like Manny Machado.
Right.
Or a Juan Soto or Bogarts or Tatis, right? So he can push his weight around a little bit. It's a little different here in San Diego. You need someone to stand up to these guys. And you need someone that can control that clubhouse.
The only thing I'd say, Jim's like dying. Let's go. The only thing I would say, because we had yesterday Jeff Fletcher on. Now, and he's covered the Angels beat for years, wrote about Shohei Ohtani, like literally wrote a book on Shohei Ohtani in the last couple of years. And he said he's caught a little bit of flack for this, but he stuck to it. He said he still believes the Angels are in the number 2 position to land Shohei Ohtani this offseason. He believes they're the second most likely team to the LA Dodgers to land Shohei Ohtani, because he said there's 2 things that matter for Ohtani. He's made one clear. It's winning. That's where the Angels have a knock against them.
Yeah.
But also comfortability.
Okay.
And they've catered their organization to Shohei.
Yeah.
So when you hire Ron Washington, is any part of you thinking about the recruiting process of Shohei Ohtani? Like trying to make it, if he does come back, you have the right manager for him?
Yeah, then when the Dodgers call and say, hey, you know what? Here's $750 million.
You think the Angels solely get beat out, though, in a bidding war? Like, are the Angels that behind the 8 ball, like monetarily? They usually spend, they just don't win.
If the Angels and the Dodgers offer the same amount of money.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if that's going to be, I don't think the Dodgers are going to let anybody outbid them, is what I'm saying.
Do you think it comes down to Ohtani, the bidding process, or is it more about comfortability and winning?
Well, the one thing the Dodgers can to give to Shohei is that comfortability that, hey, look, you're not
going anywhere.
Like you can keep your house, like whatever the case may be. Because guess what? We're 30 miles up the road.
Yeah, and they fall out of bed with 99 wins.
Yeah, you want to go to the postseason every year?
Yeah, we can guarantee it.
We're going to the postseason every year.
Yeah, if they add Shohei Ohtani, I mean, let's not be idiots here. I mean, if the Dodgers without Shohei Ohtani will be in the playoffs next year.
Yeah,
who disagrees with that?
Nobody.
The Dodgers with Shohei Ohtani will be the favorite to win the World Series next year.
Yes,
doesn't guarantee that. We know that, but it's as simple as that. Angels with Shohei Ohtani, we've seen it.
Yeah,
they are not a favorite to even make the postseason.
No,
and that's where. And again, I didn't even really broach the topic yesterday with Jeff Fletcher of Ohtani to San Diego because I don't personally see it as realistic for all the things we've illustrated about winning in payroll. So winning in payroll are a huge factor for Ohtani. I don't even know how we ended up there. But my point is, I guess at the end of the day, when the Padres make this managerial hire, whether it's tomorrow or a week from tomorrow, we're going to be left with the same questions we had about the Padres we had before the hire.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Same ones.
No question will be answered, whoever they hire.
None.
Like I've already said it. From day one, you are downgrading here. No matter who's the manager, unless you go out and got Bochy somehow. But that's not happening. All right, you brought in Dusty Baker.
That'd be big.
Not happening. Yeah, that'd be fairly
they
huge.
both would be big. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not happening. All right. Or if you went out and got Snitker. Or
Brian Snitker with the limit.
It's not happening.
Yep.
You are downgrading from what you had in Bob Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doesn't mean that the new manager can't be good.
Right.
Doesn't mean the new manager is going to automatically suck and that this team is going to fail. From day one, you are downgrading. It's just plain and simple. Right. Anybody that disagrees with that, I don't know how you can disagree.
Yeah, I agree with it. I agree. Now, again, we don't. I think I've used this before. Have you ever heard of like the S curve theory?
No.
It might be hard to explain on radio, but if you're watching, okay, you got two S's. Imagine a piece of paper.
Okay, hold on.
One S is on line 2.
So it's like on top of each other, like an S.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
No, try to explain it.
Let him finish.
It's hard to explain.
No, I want you to explain.
What did you just say to lead me down the S curve? Oh, I know what I'm saying. As in Melvin right now on an S might be towards the top of the S. Okay, as in he can't get better as a manager. Okay, you know what you're getting with Bob Melvin as a manager. Where your next manager here might be starting lower on the S, but his ceiling might be higher on the S. Okay, his projectability, his ceiling in general. So I agree with you. I think everyone will say when they make a hire, not as good. But my point would be potentially with a certain candidate, I don't know who it would be, that maybe their future, their ceiling is even higher than Melvin as a manager. The problem is we don't know when that's going to be, and we don't know who that candidate is.
Who would you pick as to be that candidate with a higher S curve rating?
I mean, I like the idea of Benji Gill. Like Mike Schilt's been a manager. You kind of know what you get, and he hasn't gotten interviews the last 3 years. Ryan Flaherty, maybe. I think it's a tougher sell. The thing with Benji Gill is I think you're checking boxes that lead me to believe that maybe if you hit on enough of them, he would have a higher ceiling. But that's just pure speculation and guessing. But again, I don't think you got like a higher... I don't think if you hired Mike Schilt day one, you'd be saying you've hired a better manager than Bob Melvin. I don't think if you hired David Ross, you'd be saying you've hired a better manager than Bob Melvin. So the point you're making overall is valid. I think initially it's going to be seen as a downgrade.
Did you talk about this yesterday of the president of Mexico?
Yeah, we touched on it briefly. We didn't play it because of Spanish.
Campaigning for Benji Gill to be the next manager of the Padres.
Man, that was interesting.
Yeah, we said the president's going to be the new hitting coach.
Oh, perfect.
Right, that's right. He's going to be on the staff. He's not going to be the pitching coach. We know that.
Also today I saw that Benji Gill was given an award.
Yeah, what was he given?
Randy Arozarena was there, and he was talking about if I became the next manager of the Padres, I'm bringing Randy with me.
I would hope as a player.
I would hope so too.
As opposed to a coach.
I would love Randy Arozarena there.
Yeah, I don't know if he has that sway that.
Yeah, I don't know if he does either.
He could do that.
Yeah, I don't know that.
So Benji Gill's name is still out there.
He's campaigning himself a lot here. Which
could he be on the staff? Maybe, because now there's a new staff in Anaheim potentially.
Here's my issue, and we mentioned a little bit. Here's my issue with having, just put all of these guys that we've interviewed on the same staff, and so is the manager.
Right? Is there a little bit of friction there?
Yeah, dude. If you're all getting interviewed for the same job, and you guys are all hired, but only one person has that job, and you're working underneath that one person. That kind of doesn't work with me, I feel like.
Right. So what was our overall takeaway in the name Alex Cora, just in general? On this list of...
I'm just throwing stuff on a dartboard, dude. I'm just literally throwing stuff on a dartboard to see if it sticks.
But you kind of agree that even if tomorrow it was announced that Alex Cora is the next manager of the Padres, would we really know anything?
Would Alex Cora be considered a downgrade over Melvin, guy who already has won a World Series?
Fair point. Fair point.
Is Alex Cora a bigger name than the other options?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
By far.
Yeah.
So I think if I woke up tomorrow morning and it was like Alex Cora hired, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. I wouldn't kind of be like, I wouldn't be so indifferent about it like I'm the other ones.
Only reason why I mention it is because I heard Jim Bowden talk about it today on Derek.
And Jim Bowden knows what he's talking about. I mean, he gets some of this stuff right. There's no question about it.
That would be a definite name. That would have the same effect of like Bob Melvin to me. As like, whoa, that came out of nowhere, and
it would be out of nowhere.
And wow, actually, that's kind of
a win higher,
massive win.
Yeah. All right, Bryce Miller. We'll ask him about the Padres managerial search, about the Aztecs getting underway Monday night at Viejas Arena. Great columnist for the UT. Bryce Miller on the other side later this hour. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to the college basketball Rady Children's Invitational this Thanksgiving in San Diego. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Hey, guys, I've been telling you all about Windmill Farms. I was over there earlier this week picking up lunch. They've got that great deli with the sandwiches. I elected to go with the salad, but they've got everything you need during your work week. Whatever it is during the lunch hour, maybe you're picking up stuff for that evening, head over to Windmill Farms. The deli is just phenomenal. If you're interested in picking up just a sandwich for lunch, you get your 8th sandwich for free with the sandwich card. They've got incredibly low prices and great ingredients. They really pride themselves on that. And again, make sure to pick up that sandwich card because your 8th sandwich is free. And of course, we've told you about the fact that they are locally owned. Their owner, Trevor, his family, they've been in the grocery business here in San Diego for over 20 years. If you don't live or work near Del Cerro, no problem. You can find Windmill Farms on Instacart, have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. But whatever you need during your work week or your weekends, whether it's the farm fresh produce, the craft beer, the deli, they're located centrally. They're family owned. You can visit windmillfarmsmarket.com to see their weekly specials. And a reminder, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. The Angels have hired Ron Washington today to be their new manager. Moving over to San Diego State basketball, they take on BYU this Friday. I can't stop. Said I'm a wreck.
It's the worst.
Like when
being sick and being on air. But again, there's bigger issues in the world, but it's annoying.
Like my throat is like dry. It's just really, it's a bad combination.
Have you tried a cough drop?
No, I'm afraid to have one.
Too soon.
Brought to you by Staples.
Brought to you by Staples.
Oh yeah. All right. So later this hour, your chance to win Rady Children's Invitational tickets, college basketball coming this Thanksgiving to Lion Tree Arena, UCSD. So be listening for your chance to win those tickets. We'll do that coming up in about 15 minutes. Great to connect with Bryce Miller. Saw Bryce just briefly today over at Viejas Arena. He wasn't there briefly, but we connected briefly over at Viejas Arena. Good to catch up as always with Bryce Miller, great columnist for the UT. Bryce, there's a lot to get into. You got obviously the return of men's basketball at San Diego State. You have this ongoing Padres managerial search. I want to start with the Padres. What do you make of the way that this process is playing out? It feels like it's been a relatively long process. It's now been over 2 weeks since Bob Melvin was hired by the Giants. Why is it taking this long in your estimation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. One of the things, I mean, Kevin Acey, my colleague at the UT's, reported this, that maybe at the end, part of that explanation is once David Ross was kind of dislodged with the Cubs and Greg Counsell came over for the Brewers, they wanted to at least have that conversation. I don't know if that leads to an interview. I don't know if that leads to anything, but certainly, down the stretch, that might be a reason that they want to be thorough and complete. It sounds like they at least are discussing that option in terms of names that are getting thrown about. But beyond that, you would think you'd want to, if you could be settled, heading into free agency off season. It's always it's a little cleaner. You can handle things a little differently in the off season, and so I would expect any day now. It really, it'd be surprising if it really lasted much beyond the weekend or the beginning of the week.
Bryce, the talk of this offseason, other than the manager, is what they're going to do with Juan Soto. Do you think that, I'm sure that there's people in that building that don't want to trade Juan Soto, but with everything that's been reported about, hey, we need to get this thing down to about $200 million. And with Juan Soto on the roster, it's already at $200 million with a bunch of holes. Do you think they're going to be put in a situation where they have no choice but to trade Juan Soto?
Well, it's starting to feel that way. That doesn't mean there is no option. I mean, it's AJ Preller after all, so he finds a way to put square pegs in round holes, for good, bad, or indifferently. But I guess I was on the record and wrote months ago that they should trade Juan Soto in this offseason, just because right now, especially, they need starting pitching, and we're not talking about one starter. We're talking about two and possibly three, probably three. And just that need compounded with the financial situation they're facing. They don't have the Bally's contract anymore. Major League Baseball, which kind of subsidized that to 80% of those losses. That's not the case moving forward. That they, even if the Padres don't say it, they budgeted for playoff games with this type of roster. So they didn't realize the money they would have brought in during the playoffs, and then the overages, and they appear to be, moving to a place that's around that $200 million mark. And what you can do with the type of money you'd have to pay Juan Soto in arbitration for this season, even as enticing as that sounds, in a walk year, his numbers will probably be incredible, but how many needs can you fill if you go a different direction? And the money piece really kind of overshadows all those decisions at this point. So it does seem even more likely than before that they have to really, really explore moving on from Soto for a variety of reasons.
Is there any part of it where you're like, you kind of need to sell it to your fan base? Because you're 3.2 million fans last year. Yeah, they were a disappointment on field, but from a marketing perspective, they just drew and drew, and right, almost like a rock concert every single night at Petco Park, even though they weren't winning consistently. Can they sell trading Juan Soto makes them better? Like, how do you think that would be sold, and like, how would that resonate with the fan base?
Well, I don't know if you could say they'd be better, but you could say they could be a more complete team potentially. Say you, for example, filled a couple of rotation spots, somehow with that type of money, which Juan Soto, what's he going to get paid next year? I don't know, $36 million, give or take a couple million either direction. And he certainly could go out, for $16 million for a couple of arms. You could do that. And they have decisions to make in center field, DH, first base. There's a lot of needs on this team. Maybe you don't say you're better, but you're a more complete team. And really, at the end of the day, I think what fans want is for this team to win. And if that move, even on the surface, it would be a skill for a lot of fans as well. That position is better to win. It's a team game. It's not one guy. And for the amount of money you're paying for Juan Soto, and I've written this, that you're not getting a great outfielder, you're not getting a great base runner, you're getting a generational guy in the back box, and that's worth a certain amount of money. But he's not a tool guy. I don't care how you evaluate him. So can you get better in ways? Look at what the Rangers did. I mean, they had star power with Seager and Simeon, but they got a lot of pieces around the edges, and they got better in a hurry because those pieces fit. And so I think that's what you have to sell, because on the remaining one more year in 15, but 3 or 4 different moves might. So I think it's a bigger picture kind of conversation.
Who's your choice for manager, Bryce, of the candidates that we know of?
Oh, until you said the last part, I was going to say Sparky Anderson.
Yeah, perfect. Right.
I've written that, I think experience matters. This was before Benji Gill had kind of entered the picture. That Schilt, he won at an organization like St. Louis. He wasn't chased out because he didn't win. I think that, the one knock that Ryan Flaherty might have against him through no fault of his own is that he might be perceived as Chase Stingler 2.0 with the lack of experience and the first year manager. Yep, that some of the fans might have. Andy Green didn't have anywhere near talent or payroll that Singler or guys that had, but they kind of went down that road before, rolled those dice, and so I think Schilt is the safer pick. Benji Gill, though, like I said, I wrote that before he was in the picture, and he's interesting. I mean, he's kind of in the middle. I mean, he doesn't have the major league experience running a team. He was really well respected, and what he did in the WBC with Team Mexico, and local guy here, obviously that will perk up the ears of a lot of people in San Diego. But I think those are a couple of good choices. For me, the Ryan Flaherty piece, and again, no fault of his own, that's just a way tougher sell for me.
Bryce Miller with UT with us right now, and Jon and Jim. So, Bryce, I saw you earlier over at Viejas Arena. I mean, what do you make? And you were there for the entire run last year, Vegas, and Orlando, and Louisville.
Yeah.
So, how do you have an encore after?
Well,
how do you follow up last season? What's reasonable here after everything that happened last year?
Yeah, what's reasonable is get to the NCAA tournament and make it past the first weekend. I mean, that's where they want to be as a program. And until this deep run, that's what they had trouble doing, is getting past the tournament, past that first game, let alone the first weekend. So you can't have a perfect encore for something like that. If it was that easy, Kansas would be in the title game every year. Duke would be in the title game every year. It just doesn't work like that. There are too many factors. There are injuries, teams, draws, matchups, everything that goes into an NCAA tournament bracket. But I think with the team, and they lost a lot off that team, even though they know they have a lot of young talent. They're not quite as deep past that 5 or 6 spot. When Darion Trammell comes back, they need to grow in some of those places that, that 9-man rotation last year, they're not there yet. And maybe they don't get there at all. But I think getting into the tournament, getting past that first weekend, that's how programs are built, how resumes are built. You're there year after year. It's not just a 1-year blip.
Bryce, always love your insight, your perspective, your writing in the UT. Good seeing you earlier today, and thanks for hopping on today.
Thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, glad to. Thanks, guys.
All right, Bryce Miller, again, columnist with the San Diego Union Tribune. All right, call right now because the first 2 callers will be contestants for 2 free tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational college basketball tournament. The day after Thanksgiving, you're getting 2 free tickets. It's Championship Friday. This is going to include 2 games involving USC, Seton Hall, Iowa, and Oklahoma. Men's basketball, Lion Tree Arena on the campus of UCSD. We have 2 free tickets. First 2 callers will be our contestants for Trainwreck Radio. Call right now, 844-570-1360. Great prize. Day after Thanksgiving, 844-570-1360. We have a pair of free tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational. Call right now, 844-570-1360. We'll play some trivia up next on Jon and Jim. All right, Trainwreck Radio coming up next. Your chance to win tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational College Basketball Tournament. That's next. All right, Jon and Jim back with you. We'll get to Trainwreck Radio here in a moment. We were just talking about earlier Victor Wembanyama. Like, is this guy already top 10?
No, he's a bust.
In the NBA?
He's a bust.
He's a bust is what we're saying. We've watched the first 2 minutes of a Knicks-Spurs game here in studio, and
he's already he has an air ball.
Yeah.
The Knicks are up 8-0.
This guy's terrible.
First time out.
So funny how we like react to everything. It's like
he's the worst player ever.
You had said that one of your issues with the in-season tournament was that it like starts and stops.
It's felt like the first in-season tournament game was like 3 months ago.
And have we even had games since?
No.
When there's a tournament game, it means all the games are tournament games. They have like tournament nights.
So the next tournament night, John,
Tuesday, I believe.
The 14th. So hold on. Let me check.
14th?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it might have been Friday.
We have
Tuesday.
No, sorry, Friday. It is Friday. Yeah. We have in-season tournament games on Friday. And then we don't have another in-season tournament game until that Tuesday.
Like, do you have any feel for like who's doing well in the in-season tournament?
They've played one game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you have a feel? Oh, like Golden State's got the inside track now because they have a road win.
I don't even know how it works.
Okay, here's how it works. You want to know?
No.
There's 6 divisions.
I don't really care.
There's 6 pods.
Okay.
The winner of the 6 pods is into the quarterfinals, and then 2 other at-large teams. So then you have 8 teams in the quarters, and then single elimination from 8 to 4. Final 4 will play in Vegas, and then the championship game is in Vegas.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Okay, back to the latest with the Padres managerial search and Scott Boras's comments on Juan Soto's future. Is it in San Diego or elsewhere? But right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Ben and Mark. Ben, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'm going to go with Jim.
Wow. I like it.
Is this
Ben Fadden?
Yes, it is.
Oh, you chose Jim?
Wow.
Don't ask me to come on the show again.
I'm going to give you a wrong answer on purpose. Mark, you get John, all right?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I bet you are.
How did you recognize his voice off the top like that?
I don't know. I can
it.
recognize voices.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. What is today's question of the day, Brent?
All right, guys. Juan Soto had the 8th highest WAR among position players in the National League last year. Today's question: can you name these 7 players that had a higher WAR than Juan Soto this year in the National League?
Okay.
For position players. Only position players.
All right, Mark, you're up first. What is your first guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
I will go Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts.
Good guess.
Good guess on the list. All right, Ben. What is your first guess? And I guess you can use your lifeline if you want it.
Yeah, I'm good. Ronald Acuna Jr.
He's good.
He's like, I know everybody.
All right.
On the list.
Got some baseball fans.
Mark, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll use Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman.
Well done. Okay.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
No lifeline needed. I'm going to go Matt Olson.
Matt Olson.
Wow.
Okay.
It's not just talking Friars. It's like talking baseball.
Yeah, whatever. Mark, final guess. You do have your lifeline, too, if you want to use it here. What do you got?
Shoot. I will try my lifeline, or at least see what he
How
says.
about this? Easy. And he plays for the San Diego Padres. Ha-Seong Kim.
Do you take that, Mark?
No.
You don't? You don't?
I don't think he had a higher WAR than Juan Soto.
I think he had the highest WAR on the team.
John's giving you a lifeline
right.
here.
I'll go with you. Okay, I'll take Ha-Seong Kim.
Dude,
Ooh,
yes,
on
come
the
on.
list.
He's had a 6 WAR
He
season.
gave you a layup. He
Yes.
gave you a layup.
We talked about it all year. Anyway, you got it right.
You got it right. Good job. You got it right.
job.
All right, Ben, you're on your own.
Okay, I'm going to go with, not super confident with this one, but I'm going to go with Blake Snell.
No, position players.
Position players.
Oh, position player. Okay. Sorry, that was just full WAR. Man.
You don't need a lifeline, so you're okay.
There's only two
Austin
other
Riley. Austin Riley.
Austin Riley. Wow. Good job, guys.
Okay. I would have
Really
not
good
guessed
job.
Austin Riley. Then again, I would have given like Jake Cronenworth
Probably
for
true.
my guess.
Yep.
Because, I'm not going to give Ben the right answer. All right. So we're going to overtime. Brent, give us the quick rules in the question.
All right, how overtime works is I'm going to ask you a question. When I'm done asking the question, then you'll yell out the name of your partner today, either John or Jim. Don't yell out the answer. Whoever yells out the name of their partner first, you're going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys got it?
Yep, got it.
Okay, today's overtime question. In what state are the GM meetings being held?
Jim.
I heard Jim.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
Arizona.
That is correct. Scottsdale. How about that?
Wow.
Ben Fadden didn't need the lifeline.
He really wants to go to that basketball tournament.
He's got 2 free tickets now to the Rady Children's Invitational. And that wasn't easy. There were only 2 remaining guesses when he guessed Austin Riley.
The National League?
Yeah, because we had guessed, because Soto was 8th. There were 7 in front of him. We just went through 6. So who do we miss, Brent?
Francisco Lindor. He's one.
He's in the National League with the
yes,
Mets.
yes, he is.
I'm like,
and he was top 7 last
wow.
year. Interesting.
Yeah, he's number 5.
I would not have guessed that.
And another Padre.
Well, we said Kim.
Tatis?
Yeah. Tatis.
In front of Soto?
Yes.
Nice
Yeah.
year.
I'm not a math guy, but 8 comes before 7, or before 9. Soto was 9. Tatis was 8.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Tatis had a 5.5 WAR last year.
Jeez.
Oh, so technically they were tied.
Nice year. All right. Ben, congratulations. Here's what you've won. You have won 2 free tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational coming to San Diego this Thanksgiving at Lion Tree Arena on UC San Diego's campus with 4 elite college basketball programs. This holiday tournament promises an unforgettable weekend of basketball, beaches, and the best San Diego has to offer. This year's field includes the Iowa Hawkeyes, USC Trojans, Seton Hall Pirates, and the Oklahoma Sooners. Tickets and info at RadyChildren'sInvitational.com. Coming up next, should we read into what Scott Boras said about Juan Soto's future earlier? If you missed it, you'll hear from Scott Boras, the mega agent himself. Jim's back page is still ahead. Padres managerial search is nearing a conclusion. Hour 3 of Jon and Jim is next. Well, you've heard this recently. There's not a more expensive city in the country to live in than San Diego, California. And with the year almost over, you might need cash for the holidays. Or maybe you want to be credit card debt free for the new year. You can call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. You've got a ton of equity in your home. Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans. Maybe you want to start a home improvement project, add solar panels. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal, so you can get your money super fast, get the holiday cash you need, or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends by calling Loan Pronto now. 619-207-4336. Again, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Call 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. The Angels today hired Ron Washington to be their new manager. San Diego State takes on BYU this Friday, 6 p.m. in Provo. 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts there. And San Diego State takes on Colorado State this Saturday. 4 o'clock kickoff. 2 o'clock is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs, calendars. I can't finish this. Ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California. What's going on? Jon and a coughing Jim with you for the next hour.
I'm like sucking in air and it's making my throat dry. You ever had that?
Probably, but I don't really know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know what you're talking about because there's other times you have air.
But it's like my throat is dry and it's, I don't know, it's not fully lubricated. Pause.
Why don't you take more, what were you, cough drops?
No, I'll get sick again.
So do you now have like a fear of cough drops or like it gives you a weird feeling because you got sick yesterday because you had too many?
No, I think I could have a cough drop. I just can't have like 30 like I did.
Yeah, probably. By the way, Jim just told me something at the break that like blew my mind, which alone is amazing.
Real quick. Instead of, so you don't have to take 30 of them.
You know,
you can get those like extra strength ones that will numb your throat. That like
yeah,
they will. If you go to like Walmart and do self checkout, they'll come over and like have to like verify your age before they give them to you.
It's got like stuff in there.
Yeah, because it will numb your throat.
Okay,
because that's what I have to
take
get.
30 of those.
I'm like the same way. I'll eat like a whole bag of Halls. And
wait, so are you sick right now?
No, I'm just saying in the past.
In the past, I thought you said today.
No, I'm fine.
You could do that.
I probably do.
Yeah, they're called like Cepacols or something like that.
No, yeah, I've seen that. I've literally bought everything ever in that aisle for like voice, ear, nose, throat.
Well, you have kids too, or kids,
yes,
so.
yes, exactly.
Numb my throat.
I want to have that aisle in my house so I can just pick something out. Like, oh, this should be nice for right now.
Oh, I could use that.
This is perfect. So Jim told me something that like blew my mind, which is amazing in itself.
I'm surprised you never thought of this.
I never thought of this. This is honestly one of the great ideas for American sport I've ever heard.
I don't take any credit for it.
He saw this on Barstool from Big Cat. And the reason we were talking about Barstool is because they've got like a Barstool college basketball tournament going on YouTube right now with FAU.
Yeah.
San Diego State beat them, of course, in the Final Four. So I actually just put it on YouTube to watch with the sound off while we do the show. There's like 25, 30,000 people watching on YouTube, which I thought was a lot of people for FAU Loyola.
Yeah.
For some random, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Where's this at? Is that in
Dallas?
Chicago?
It's in Chicago.
Okay.
So it's in like Loyola's backyard. But would you have known Loyola Chicago was in Chicago, by the way?
Probably not.
If I just told you, you wouldn't have known Loyola Chicago was in Chicago.
No.
You would have known that, but if I just said Loyola, you wouldn't have known.
It would take me a while.
I know. Anyway, from Big Cat at Barstool, right?
Yeah.
He proposed, according to Jim, that every college basketball year should start with a rematch of last year's Final Four.
Yes.
To like kick it off.
Yes, like a kickoff night.
So maybe you get San Diego State FAU and Miami UConn again, and then maybe the winners move on and the losers play each other too.
Yeah, that's how it would.
Yeah. Or maybe you play San Diego State UConn night one, and then whatever. But like you think about it, Monday night at Viejas, everyone was waiting for, everyone was anticipating, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But you looked at the Division I like scoreboard on Monday, the first night, you're having the most random games.
Yeah.
Which I understand because you're like easing your way into the season. You're not trying to play like number one team in the nation, game one. But I love that idea.
Yeah.
To start the college basketball season with like an emphasis.
Yeah.
As opposed to just these random non-Division I opponents against like top 10 teams.
Yeah. And the problem is college basketball teams would never do it because of scheduling.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
And they wouldn't want like their resume. It's just so stupid. It's dumb. Like just get it done. It would be an awesome thing to do. Imagine if this year it started out in like, I don't know, like Las Vegas or something. You had San Diego State taking on FAU, UConn versus Miami. Or you flip it and you do
Miami, San Diego State, FAU, UConn.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, FAU, UConn would be a top 10 matchup. San Diego State's top 25. I don't know about Miami, but whatever. That's intriguing. The teams are in the Final Four. Everyone gets the rosters change.
Yeah.
But it's still intriguing. And you want to draw eyeballs, to your point?
Oh, dude.
People are interested in watching the defending national champion take on the defending national runner-up.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting.
Like a mini tournament, or you don't even do a mini tournament. You just do a rematch.
One game
of the championship game from last year.
Or just two Final Four, like just a doubleheader of the Final Four teams.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's one night. Saturday night, MSG. Saturday night, Vegas. Saturday night, Indiana, or Indianapolis.
Yeah, you don't have to do like a tournament style, but you can just do one night, like in New York, MSG.
Yes.
Like you said, you just have one night where first game's on at 4, second game's on at 7.
Work on that.
I'll try.
Okay, this weekend.
Let me call up the commissioner.
There is none.
I know there's not,
but you should call him anyway.
I should.
All right, we started the show talking about what Scott Boras, mega agent, had to say about one of his clients, Juan Soto. Of course, there's been so much discussion, almost like speculation that Juan Soto could be traded. How much of this are we believing, Padres fans? This is Scott Boras.
Met with the Padres. They laid out their plan for next year, which obviously included, a lineup that is definitely includes Juan Soto. He's their 900 OPS player, and they're obviously looking for more left-handed bats rather than less.
Yeah, because I really think that the Padres are calling up Scott Boras and telling him all of their plans.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, isn't it interesting how I always use OPS, an agent slid that in there, he was their best player. He's your best player. He's the only one.
Well, everything that Scott Boras says has become the most cringe thing ever.
He's so cringe.
It's ridiculous. When he has these little press conferences, right? He'll have another one at the winter meetings.
Right.
And he's constantly using these stupid phrases to talk about his clients.
Yeah.
What did he use today?
Going back to even hot talent lava. It's just who he is.
Oh, do you think he talks about his own family like that? It's hey, we have to have Peggy at Thanksgiving. She's the only one that brings the stuffing.
Right, exactly. Just Juan Soto's the only one that had a good offensive year.
He's gotta hype it up.
You better have him back.
This is what Scott Boras said today about Cody Bellinger.
Okay.
Chicago got the comforts of a full belly. They're going to have to loosen their belts to keep Bellinger. This is what he had to say about Pete Alonso.
It's still better than any of Passan's clever tweets.
True. By the way,
interesting tweet from Jeff Passan earlier today.
We'll tell you what Passan said in a second. When it comes to the polar bear, we're not in contract hibernations. Dude,
enough.
Stop.
He loves it though.
Who's his ghostwriter?
Stop.
So Jeff Passan today.
Oh, Jeff Passan, the ultimate
tweeted out
typo.
the Angels are hiring Ron Washington. Did you see this tweet?
No, that's why I'm eagerly anticipating.
Oh, you're gonna love this.
Washington, the former manager of the Rangers and beloved longtime coach now with Atlanta, gets another shot with the Angels. That's the revised tweet. Shot with the Angels. The previous tweet had the SH and T in it, but a different vowel.
Yeah. He put that out there.
Okay.
He quickly edited it. But the thing is, everyone can see your edits. So if you have a blue check. So he did not get to hide away from that one.
Gets another shot with the Angels.
And it's funny.
He spelled that shot word wrong.
Yeah, he did not say shot.
And he then put there are typos, and then there are typos, and then there was that, and then he used the
poop emoji.
Poop emoji. I'm telling you, dude.
What's worse?
I know he made the edit, but honestly, I think he did it with intent. I think the tweet is almost 10 times more viral by doing that. In fact, his typo tweet has more likes than the Ron Washington tweet.
Also, didn't he put out he's oh, speaking of the tweet, this lines up perfectly with this story, and it was Ron Washington saying using the S word. I don't know, saying something about himself this S matters. I don't know what it was, but it was a story on Ron Washington.
Yes, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. He did do that after the fact.
Interesting.
The story obviously today isn't the fact that Jeff Passan misspelled the word shot, but the fact that another club has hired. You got the Padres, Brewers, Astros still out there. Now, AJ Preller, per AJ Cassavell, I'm calling him AJ Content Cassavell
today.
AJ Cassavell, in a scrum with Preller today, said that Preller is making the media aware that they're getting close on a manager, right? He said, paraphrasing, he didn't know if it was in the next 24 hours, Could be this weekend, early next week. John Morosi took that to mean like they're nearing a conclusion to their hire.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it is. If it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow. If it's Saturday, it's Saturday. If it's Monday, it's Monday. Of course, they're nearing a conclusion. I think the Soto story, what Scott Boras just said about, hey, they envision him in their lineup in 2024, that to me is more important than who they hire here from a managerial perspective. But to your point you've made over the last month, it's like, well, do you trust any of this? Do you really trust what Scott Boras is saying? Do you trust what AJ Preller's telling him?
No. Why the hell would the Padres talk with Scott Boras and give them, well, here's our plan for next year, Scott? Like, no, you're talking about his free agents. You're talking about his, I guess, clients. And yes, Juan Soto is the biggest client on the Padres that is under Scott Boras. But of course, you're not going to go to Scott and be like, yeah, we want to trade him this offseason. Like, you're going into the offseason with people thinking that you're going to keep Juan Soto. Because if everyone thinks you're going to trade Juan Soto, doesn't that just ruin his trade, the value?
I think it does. I mean, maybe you drive up then, hey, come on over with the calls. Maybe. Like, hey, we want to hear from you. At some point, they may have to do that. I mean, the Nationals ultimately fielded calls on Soto and said, we need to be wooed. And that's what the Padres did. So at some point, that's a possibility. I don't see why you'd start your offseason by being like, hey, our first order of business is moving Juan Soto.
It might be internally something that they're talking about, which I think is what they're talking about, because Kevin Acee worded it interestingly yesterday about, hey, the likelihood of them trading Juan Soto is greater than the likelihood of them getting Shohei Ohtani.
Right, but both could be minuscule chances. We don't know. If they've got a 0.01 chance of landing Ohtani, well, 0.02 is more likely than 0.01.
I just think looking at this whole situation with Soto, if everything is to be true from reporting, from not just one, like multiple people, about them having to get down to $200 million payroll, how does that work with keeping Juan Soto on the team?
Honestly, Jim, I think you can definitely do it. Now, I don't know if you can definitely build a winner. I hope they do it. I think you can definitely have his $30 million in your 200. I don't know if that they're better off doing that as opposed to moving him and using the 30 elsewhere. But I don't think that the 1 year remaining on Soto's deal is going to be the reason why they move him. I think the reason why they would move him is because they think they can get better without him. And the long-term flexibility it creates. If you can't sign Juan Soto to an extension, or you don't have the money to sign Juan Soto to an extension, then I would consider moving him. But I don't think they consider moving him solely because he's owed $30 million. Like, I don't think that's such an extreme number for a player of his ability that he has to be moved. That's how I see it.
It just sucks because you're thinking to yourself, they didn't really have to deal with this if they didn't sign Xander Bogaerts. They didn't, give all that money to Yu Darvish and Jake Cronenworth.
Right. That's true. They put themselves in this situation.
It sucks because Juan Soto, I want Juan Soto on my team. I would want Juan Soto on my team, no doubt about it.
Right.
But because of the other things that this team has done, I don't know if that's going to be a possibility.
Yeah, I will say this, and I'm with you. Listen, I've been critical of Bogaerts. You should be critical of Bogaerts. He didn't perform to the contract in year one.
Not even close.
I would say this, that all things being equal, having Xander Bogaerts back and presuming or assuming he is better next year is hopefully a win, not a loss. Like, hopefully it is beneficial to all your goals. Like, hopefully he plays a real role in helping you get to the postseason and then contributing in the postseason. He's a 2-time world champ.
I know.
I can't guarantee it, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'm with you. If it costs you on Soto long term, it could be a problem. But I like the idea of let's see it all again in 2024.
I know what Xander Bogaerts definitively won't do. Put up the numbers that Juan Soto puts up. We talked to Bryce earlier today about how he thinks that Juan Soto isn't a five-tool player.
Right.
How is Xander Bogaerts? Xander Bogaerts is an average fielder. He doesn't. Does he steal a bunch of bases? Does he run the bases like particularly well?
He hits for average theoretically, right? But he doesn't necessarily hit for power.
Does he hit for power?
Yeah.
He didn't drive into many runs last year. Okay. His OPS was bad. It wasn't great.
Yeah, very average.
Very average. I mean, look, it's still mind-boggling to me that they chose that route,
Over the Soto route?
knowing that this potentially could cost us from signing Soto to a long-term extension down the road.
But did they ever think that signing Soto long-term was reasonable? Did they get an indication last winter that it wasn't overly reasonable, that it would cost
Well, I think that
$500 million?
I think the disaster of 2023 put everybody in a reality check of like, oh, maybe we can't do what we
Do
thought we
all
could
of it.
do.
But also, I would say this, that, yeah, I'm not comparing Bogarts to Soto either, but guess what also isn't being compared? The contracts. So it's not like you chose the 280 Bogarts over the 280 Soto.
Oh, yeah, no, I get
you
that.
You took the 280 Bogarts over, maybe they feared it was, at the time, 515. He turned down 440.
I know.
You wouldn't think the price goes down. So to be fair, you can't really compare 280 to 500. Like, that's a big difference.
Okay, then how about this? The potential sign, not the potential, but the actual signing of Xander Bogaerts is cost you Blake Snell and maybe
Hassan Kim.
Hassan Kim.
Yeah, right.
And maybe Seth Lugo too.
That's maybe a reach.
Maybe.
Like $280 million in total spend would have been reached with Snell and Kim and Lugo quick.
Yeah.
We'll see what Snell gets. Yeah. Something higher, something lower. But in the hundreds, 100 plus.
For
easy.
sure.
We've heard from who told us that Kim could get 150 plus. He'd get the Swanson deal, Dansby Swanson. Seems like crazy money.
Dan Zambrowski.
It seems like a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, he's like, look, if you look at the stats and if you look at comparable players, he's like a Dansby Swanson comparable type of player. Now he's a Gold Glove player.
And then Lugo is going to get what off of last year?
I would say around the 15 million range.
15 per year, so maybe a couple of years in there. Yeah. So I don't know if you could do all of it, but it's a great point. You could have done some of it. It
just goes back to like the mismanagement of the spending with this team and where is it going to down the road cost this team.
Mm-hmm.
We already see that's costing this team with their pitching because they're not bringing back Waka, they're not bringing back Lugo, they're not bringing back Nick Martinez. And what cost them that? Like these numbers aren't crazy,
right?
Well, they gave $100+ million to Yu Darvish, 38 years old. Could you use that $100 million to sign 3 pitchers instead of an aging Yu Darvish who's always injured?
The issue is this, and I am 100% in your corner because I agree with it. I would just say this, that whenever you're making decisions in real time, you know that in the future
it can hurt
you. Like you're going to Monday morning quarterback it.
Yeah.
And now that's on Preller because they didn't win in 2023. I'm just saying
that's his job.
in the moment, like let's go back to all these deals in the moment. Bogarts perceived as a win.
Yeah, you're like, how could this?
How's it possible?
How did this happen?
It was like throw caution to the wind. I'll worry about it on the other side.
How could this fail?
But again, perceived as a win. Darvish coming off a nice 2022, perceived as a win. Yeah, it's paying him into his 40s, but he's your ace. I mean, he's the top 2 in a rotation. You need him.
You better hope that the first 3 years of this deal are good because the last 3 are going to be bad.
And we did say that. But we were thinking, hey, they're in the win now 2023, 2024
Get him under contract.
And then Cronenworth, when they did in April.
That was interesting.
It was interesting, but we also knew he had been a 2-time All-Star.
Yeah.
And he was coming off a huge moment in the history of the franchise and thinking, $80 million, maybe it's reasonable. It didn't feel like a crazy reach at the time. My point is now on the other side of everything. Yeah, it's easy to dissect and be like, what were they thinking?
Yeah, of course.
And again, that's on AJ Preller. That's his job.
Yeah.
Completely fair. If they would have won last year, you wouldn't have the same level of critique. If they would have lost in the NLDS off a 91-win season, you would say, well, it's disappointing. They got to do more in 2024. But you wouldn't be so heavily critiquing the decisions he made with payroll the year prior.
How about what if this happened? How would you have felt if they made like you just said, made the postseason, 91 wins, and they lost in the division round?
Right.
And the same things transpired at the end of the season. Bob Melvin leaves, goes to the Giants. Now we're sitting here. Hey, you're like a trade Juan Soto. Everything's the same after the season.
How would I have felt if that happened?
Because people can legitimately justify in that organization that getting rid of Bob Melvin is a good thing after what happened this past season. I think, right?
Yeah,
I think there's a portion of the fan base that can justify
because they were disappointing. So then that's a reason to. It explains the disappointment. Well, I guess the manager didn't do his job.
Can't manage the clubhouse. Whose job is that? Bob Melvin. Did he do a good job of that? No, he didn't.
Right.
How would you have felt? Would you felt better or worse?
That's the thing. I don't think I would have felt better. I would have been like, whoa, Bob Melvin just led you to a back-to-back 90-win seasons essentially and an NLCS, and he's gone.
Yeah, I think that'd have been worse.
Been like worse. Yeah.
And there was already rumors of Bob wanting to leave and AJ, kind of over it with Bob after last season's NLCS run.
Right. And none of it's ideal. Here's what it would have done. If 2023 was better on field, it would have bought Preller not just time, but it would have given him additional credibility to do it. You would have been saying, if the Padres were good in 2023, people would have been selling AJ Preller as a top flight GM. They would have said 21 was the aberration. Mm-hmm. At that point, you would have said 20, 22, 23. He's onto something.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. Like, I feel like it would have bought him the maneuvering to sell it. But you can't sell it now, coming off what they're coming off.
Right. Now it's you have dysfunction in the franchise. You drove your manager out of town. You're potentially going to hire for another first-time manager, and you're potentially going to have to trade Juan Soto.
But other than that,
it's fine.
All right. On the other side, the very latest from the GM meetings going on right now in Arizona, plus Jim's back page. It's hour 3 of Jon and Jim. Stay with us. All right, the very latest from AJ Preller at the GM meetings in Arizona next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. The Angels have a new manager. They hired Ron Washington today. Other Padres news, AJ Preller today said that Ruben Niebla will return next year as the Padres pitching coach. We'll see if that comes true or not. Moving over to Aztecs basketball, they take on BYU this Friday, 6 o'clock tip, 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts. And the Aztecs football team takes on Colorado State this Saturday, 4 p.m. kickoff, 2 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
All right, this from the GM meetings. The Braves plan to increase payroll. Now,
oh, cool.
What's interesting about that, so real quick, we spent so much time on payroll. And by the way, Preller was somewhat active today with the media. We heard about Ruben Niebla from AJ Cassavell likely returning per Preller. We've heard it before. We heard about the reasons why they declined options on guys like Martinez and Waka. But you know the Braves last year, do you know what their payroll was entering the year? Just throw a number.
210?
200. 200.
Okay.
So, but speaks to this general point. We've made this point. It's not like we've said 200 is some crazy low number, but we keep hearing, hey, the Padres might lower it, to 200. Well, the Atlanta Braves, World Series favorites heading into the year, had a payroll of 200. Now they increased it over the course of the year and are expected to increase it again this offseason, but 200 can be enough to win. Maybe not with what they've done with the big figures. Well, that's for a lot of the players. That's the difference between the Braves and the Padres.
That's the whole thing here is you have a $200 million payroll. That is plenty enough to win. You should win a bunch of games at $200 million with your payroll. The problem is if your payroll is $200 million and you are extremely top heavy and you're not able or willing to go the extra mile, which the Padres did this year, and now it didn't work out. But if you're not willing to do that and you can't do that, then you're going to have problems because to build a cohesive roster and a roster with depth, if you're capped at 200, like if you're like, hey, look, that's all
the max.
That's all we got. And you already have a top heavy roster, you're going to be dealing with issues.
Right.
That's where the Padres are at.
So, okay. So back to the Padres today. The news was this. Preller saying we'll make a decision on the manager. I can't say it'll be the next 24 hours, but I would say over the course of the weekend into the early part of next week. Okay, there was that. There was, hey, we've had conversations about an extension with Juan Soto. And then the reason they declined the options on Wacha and Martinez was the first move of the offseason. We just weren't comfortable at those price points. So that screams to the salary issues. And then Preller saying that Niebla is under contract for next season and will be back as pitching coach. But to your point, I didn't even think about that initially when we said it. Like, well, yeah, you said the same thing about Bob Melvin.
Yeah. You said Bob Melvin was returning? Look. By the way, this cough drop is amazing.
Is it just you probably let me see the cough drops real quick. What'd you buy? Let me see the cough drop. Because Jim took 30 cough drops 2 days ago and then he was sick to his stomach. And now he's saying, now here's my issue with the cough drops you bought. As a cough drop extraordinaire. You went with the big bag, like generic brand. We don't need to mention the brand.
That's not generic brand.
It's a little. I'm saying you need to go like high. You need to go like high level cough drop.
Flash the bag again.
It's the standard. Show them the bag. It's I mean, we could say the brand. I'm just saying. I'm saying,
dude, that's like Coca-Cola.
It's like candy.
I'm saying
it's like the first thing I saw.
I mean, like brand name.
Is it Halls?
Yes, Halls is like.
I'm saying he needs to go like you're sick. You need to deal with it with like the best possible cough drop in the world.
Okay. My bad.
I don't. And also, whenever I'm sick, I need to say this. I don't think cough drops do anything for me.
It's look. I feel fine. It's just I'm a little congested.
Congested.
Yes, after yesterday, and my throat is like it has. I don't know when I suck in a bunch of air and talk, it like I just start coughing.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the Padres.
I don't know what you were saying.
We were talking about the Ruben Niebla. Hey, remember when Bob? They said Bob Melvin was returning, and look what happened there. And Ruben Niebla. Hey, they say he's returning. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust issues. And then the money thing. Interesting how you go from saying one thing, hey, we're looking to try to extend Juan Soto, but we're also not going to re-sign a couple guys basically because of money issues.
Right. You're saying those don't run in like concert with each other. They're like, that doesn't make sense. Like,
no.
Why would you be saying, hey, we could throw $500 million to Soto, but we can't concern ourselves with that price point for a rotation, which is much more reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. I'm with you on that. Although sometimes in life, like you need to choose. Like even rich people need to make decisions. Do
they?
Sometimes, like, are you going to spend $100K on a car? Or are you going to spend 80, which is well beyond anything we would ever spend on any car. But they're still making a decision between the $100,000 car and the $80,000 car, or the $3 million home and the $5 million home. As in, at some point, the money runs dry. We've said this now for honestly years. We knew this would happen. It isn't our money. Who cares? Yeah, but it was always going to come to this. It was always going to come down to money. And that's where they are right now, where the money does matter.
Yeah. And I think we were at the time saying as well, okay,
caution to the win.
You better caution to the win, but you also better win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like Eric Rupner said that.
Like I was firmly on the board of I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, like you said, it's not our money.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But
you better win.
Yep. And that's one thing that we mentioned is like, hey, you better win, and we expect you to win because you're telling us that you expect to win.
Yeah,
and that didn't happen.
And nobody was ever going to say, and I'll stick by this forever, the spending is wonderful. And if you win a World Series, nobody would have ever said here.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, they did it, but they spent a lot of money to do it.
No one.
Right. So all that matters is the end result. And if you can get to the end result on 200 million or 253 or whatever the number is, that's great. But obviously last year, it's a good point. Like the after effect of missing the postseason with that payroll is what? What it is significant. We don't exactly know what it means, but what we think it means is you're deciding on, can you even extend one? Can you even consider extending Juan Soto? Can you fill out your rotation without going all internal with prospects? Like the after effects of what happened last year could be felt for years.
Oh, yeah.
Because they missed the mark.
You think anybody in Texas right now, Dallas is like,
oh, we spent a lot for that World Series.
Like, oh man, that was a lot of money for that World Series title.
Right, a lot of it came via free agency. I mean, nobody cares.
Like, man, we've wasted a lot of money on the DeGrom's deal because he didn't even pitch.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Oh man, we took all that money on Max Scherzer deal. Nobody cares.
Yeah, and you might think to yourself, man, as a Padres fan, it couldn't feel further the idea of winning the World Series than how I feel right now if you're a Padres fan. But, look at the last handful of World Series champions. Like, you weren't putting your finger on a handful of them. You weren't saying, hey, Rangers in 2023 is a no-brainer. I don't think there were a lot of people saying Nationals in 2019 was no-brainer during the season. At one point, they were like 11 or 12 games under 500. There's a lot of examples of this. I don't think Atlanta was the front runner when they won the World Series in 2021. So I'm just saying, like, listen, it doesn't feel like they're going to enter the year as a front runner. I mean, they clearly won't. But then again, there's been a lot of examples of teams that don't win as a front runner. So I don't know. It feels like they're far off right now, Jim, to be honest. And we'll see. I mean, after the disappointment of 2023, they certainly can't follow it up with another disappointment in 2024.
Also, to note, the last 4, I guess, National League pennant winners were all the final seed, either the 5th or the 6th seed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because the postseason expanded just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The last 4 seasons. So in the National League, not the American League, but the National League, if you just sneak your way in, if you just get in as the final seed in the National League, they've made the World Series. It's the Braves, it's the Nationals, it's the Phillies, and then this year the Diamondbacks.
We have more Preller quotes.
I know, I saw that
from Kevin Acee. Like this one about filling out the rotation. There's probably going to be some guys coming from outside the organization, similar to last year, to fill some of those spots. So confirming it wouldn't be solely internal, like the Avalas and the Waldrons and the Morahones. So that's a quote from Preller. Regarding, let's see.
This is an interesting quote right here.
Yeah, what do you have?
So talking about pitching, he says, quote, it's going to be a challenge for sure. I think it's probably
fill out a rotation.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be finding value, maybe in a player that didn't quite perform the year before. It's a supply and demand thing, and there are a lot of teams looking for pitching.
Okay, so acknowledging it's not going to be easy,
which I think we've all said. Even people on social media, like on Twitter, coming at me like, dude, look at all the pitching that is out there. Okay, guys, one. There's not this just unlimited amount of money to go out and get Snell and Rodriguez and
that's all the top heavy stuff.
Like,
you can't don't even worry about the top 10.
No.
Go find the next like 25.
Yeah, and to think that it's going to be easy, it's not. I actually believe Preller here when he says this. Like this is the kind of the one thing I do believe him when he talks about it's going to be a challenge. You're going to have to little dumpster dive, and I talked about this the other day. Maybe they view Ruben Niebla. We all see him as a pitching whisperer. And look what he did with Michael Wacha this year. And look what he did with Lugo. And look how he kind of had to kick Josh Hader in the ass like a couple times to get him to go out there on after three straight days. If we go out and get somebody that maybe didn't have a good year this past year, right? But has some good stuff and quality. We believe in Ruben Niebla so much.
Good point.
That guy can be fixed.
I also like this quote where Kevin wrote, with limitations and payroll flexibility, what the Padres essentially need is to go find another Lugo and Wacha. And then the quote from Preller is, Preller said with a laugh, maybe 4 of them. So acknowledging that they have real holes right now in the rotation, which we all see.
Yeah.
And they had holes last year in the rotation, by the way, and they did fill them. And it worked out. But can they do it again? And can they do it at a lesser dollar amount? It's not going to be easy. AJ Preller himself, the general manager, saying this will be a challenge. All right, Jim's back page. Any late breaking news out of the GM meetings in Arizona as well next? Hey guys, it's Schaefer again. And if you are an Aztec fan, if you are a San Diego sports fan, I've got the perfect holiday gift for you. This amazing collectible commemorating the biggest moment in San Diego sports history, Lamont Butler's buzzer beater in the Final Four this past April. I get chills thinking about it. I still get chills thinking about it, being there courtside for this unbelievable moment. You need to see this collectible right now. Go to butleratthebuzzer.com. That's butleratthebuzzer.com. This is your opportunity to relive this historic moment with a limited edition collectible benefiting Lamont Butler's NIL efforts and the Aztec Link Collective that benefits San Diego State student athletes. Each print is signed by Lamont Butler, authenticated and numbered. These are extremely rare, and once they're gone, they're gone. There's one run of these. And best of all, you're supporting San Diego State student athletes. Visit butleratthebuzzer.com to see these beautiful collectibles for yourself. Like I said, once they're gone, they're gone. You're supporting San Diego State student athletes. It's the best holiday gift of the season for San Diegans. Check it out for yourself at butleratthebuzzer.com. All right, right before Jim's back page, the one other thing that Kevin wrote about today from his conversation with AJ Preller is Trent Grisham calling him an elite defender and needing to be strong up the middle defensively, recognizing he needs to be more consistent.
What is this infatuation with Trent Grisham?
Either.
The fact that you don't think you can upgrade this position is
they don't have the money.
Mind-boggling.
They don't have the money, but I would think you can do it in your system. I don't know if you can do it from day one, but go find someone that can be better than him.
You know how many better options are out there than Trent Grisham?
A lot. He's due to make $5 million.
The problem is you can't get that $5 million off the books because who the hell would want Trent Grisham at $5 million? Besides the Padres.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe someone can like quote unquote fix him, his offense. I mean, he can hit for a little bit of power, he just can't hit for average. Right? It's like, what's he hit as a Padre? We've done this before. He's literally hit like 200 as a Padre. And he started like 4 consecutive seasons. Right? I mean, he's about a 200 hitter.
They still put so much emphasis on 2020. It's amazing. They think
how many games did he?
They're like 2020. No. That's the real Trent Grisham.
4 years ago.
So Trent Grisham, all right, the last 4 seasons, last 3 seasons, not counting 2020. All right, 242, 2021. Okay, which is like amazing for him. And then he hit 184 and 198 the last 2 seasons.
I mean, come on. He's a career 214 hitter as a Padre with a career on base plus slugging under 700.
He's like regressed every year with the team.
But he's a good defender. They don't need that. They're a good defensive team.
Yeah. They're not the
they won't become the worst defensive team without Trent Grisham.
No. You can find somebody that plays just as good as defense as Trent Grisham. I've watched every game of Trent Grisham's career in San Diego. It's not like this overwhelming, amazing Ken Griffey Jr. style defensive center.
I agree with that.
You know, like he can cover. Does he have range? He does. Does he have a good arm? Not really.
No, I agree.
It's like average.
He's a good fielder. That's fine. We can all agree on that.
Yes.
But to say that his fielding is so absurdly elite that it makes up for everything else is a stretch.
Yeah,
a big one.
He is wildly inconsistent at the plate.
Oh yeah,
and him bunting last year with the bases loaded and no outs.
Yeah, you were ready to move on right there.
Like, if that's not a gots to go situation, I don't know what is.
Let's get to it.
John, would you buy a 7-inch by 3-inch swatch? I guess how do you say that?
Watch?
No, SWATCH. How do you say that?
Yes, it's a swatch.
Yeah.
Swatch.
Yeah.
You just totally dated yourself, by the way.
Like the Swatch watch?
Yes.
Yeah, Swatch.
Swatch of blood-stained leather removed from JFK's limo. Would you buy that?
No, of course not.
For how much?
I would not.
No, but someone did buy it.
Oh, I'm sure someone will buy anything.
For guess how much?
I mean, that's like certain things shouldn't be, like that. You shouldn't be profiting off something like that.
No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't
15 grand.
It's ridiculous.
More than 15 grand.
Like, why would I want to buy something
taking from his assassination?
Like, what are we doing?
And it's
but
a
someone bought it.
Watch.
Someone bought it.
What? Right?
It's not even the watch. It's like part of the watch.
Right, like the band.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking it went for $99K.
$46,000. I think Brent wins Price is Right rules.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why would you?
Why are we selling that?
Stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway,
move on. I don't like that story.
Somebody bought that. John, we learned earlier this year that Al Michaels has more in common with Brent than we ever knew, and that he hates vegetables.
I know. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I think that's the most you can ever relate to Al Michaels, Brent. Well, we have come out, not we, but Al Michaels.
That time I, did commentary for the gold medal Olympic hockey team.
Right.
So
same
as you did the third place game that year.
Yeah. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Here are the top 5 most hated vegetables by Al Michaels. All right. Starting in at number 5, mushrooms.
I like mushrooms.
So do I.
Yeah, I like mushrooms too.
Okay.
Not big. I don't care. Onions.
I get it. I could see why some people would hate onions.
Broccoli is at number 3.
No, cooked broccoli's good.
Yeah, I'll eat it if it's
cooked
cooked.
broccoli is very good. Like chicken with broccoli.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
Can't go wrong with that.
Chicken broccoli Alfredo.
Number 2, spinach.
No, there's nothing wrong with spinach, especially cooked.
Depends what it's in.
It's
sauteed, boom.
Sauteed spinach with a little bit of garlic, salt,
Yes,
pepper.
absolutely.
In like a lasagna or something.
Yeah,
That's fine.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool. Number 1 most hated vegetable by Al Michaels.
Tomato.
Celery or carrots.
What?
Asparagus. I have no problem with asparagus.
I don't mind it either.
Yeah,
but I
no,
can
either
see
do I.
that being an acquired taste.
Again, cooked.
Yeah.
You know, like steamed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
So who he like wanted to go on air and be like, hey, I need to talk to everyone about the 5 vegetables I hate.
Apparently.
Was this in like People Magazine, a big like cover story?
No, it was just on Thursday Night Football.
Al Michaels announces the vegetables he hates.
Yeah. And the Hollywood actor strike, John, it is over.
I thought it already ended.
That was the writer's
That was the
writer's
writer's strike.
Thank you. But the actor's strike is over.
at
Over
midnight.
at midnight tonight, so we can start hopefully.
Acting again, me and you.
Yeah, we can stop our day jobs and we can actually get back to
We
the
can get
real-
back to what we really do.
Yeah, filming movies.
That's
for
why we
Disney.
started this 2 years ago.
Bob Iger. You're
Okay. If you missed anything today, you can go to sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. If you missed our conversations with Elijah Saunders, San Diego State basketball, Bryce Miller, the UT, you can find the podcast. Please leave a review. Find us on social media at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. Back tomorrow at 3 for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it right here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.
Okay.